Hey everybody, welcome to the beginner friendly course of Flutter, where we will be learning how to make Android and iOS applications. Our aim of this course is to understand Flutter in the easiest way possible and to build beautiful apps and two favorite applications for which you probably clicked on this video. One of them is the piss simulator to avoid social interactions because I know that you all are nerds. And second is the magic calculator, which we will be using to build and fool our friends into thinking that we know magic. Okay, so before actually starting to build and understanding the basic concepts, let's look at some of the basics of Flutter itself. Now, one thing that I want to tell you before I proceed, why you should get this course. I will be giving out complete transparency. So I will not edit out any errors that I will get. I will not make the course too complicated. Since no prerequisites are required for this course will be explained in the easiest language possible. And there isn't a better course out there, and I'm telling you this today. That is why you should try to get this course. I know that some of you have already bought the course, but I will be making this particular video available for everyone to see so that they can get the idea if they want to explore Flutter with me or not. Okay, so now let's quickly jump to the next section, which is what is Flutter, right? Flutter is not a programming language. Flutter is a framework, and Flutter is the fastest mobile UI framework right now to build applications. Now, you can also build iOS applications and Android applications with the same code base in Flutter. Flutter is not a programming language. The language is Dart. Now, what is the difference between a programming language and a framework? So what is a framework? If I give you the proper explanation, in computer programming, a software framework is an abstraction in which software provided generic functionality blah 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 blah. Yeah, no one will ever see that definition, I know. I was reading that definition from Google anyways. So framework is basically, you can say, a tool. If I try to give you an oversimplified explanation, framework is a tool which you can use to build beautiful applications or beautiful softwares, okay? And Dart is the language which you will use to access those frameworks. So Flutter and Dart both were built by Google only. Okay, so as I told you, you can just use a single code base to build different applications, and even different teams are not required. That is the biggest advantage of Flutter. You don't have to make separate Android teams and separate iOS teams to build your application. You can just do with one team, and scalability is really easy with Flutter. Also, one of the main features of why Flutter is famous is because it has hot reload, which basically helps you to see your changes in real time. You do not have to rebuild your entire application again and again like other frameworks out there, and you can just save the file and the hot reload performs and you can see the changes in real time. So let's see what is Dart. Dart is the programming language built by Google, which we will be using to code in Flutter or code with Flutter. So Dart is actually a very easy programming language, and you can understand Dart even without no prior experience with a coding language, okay? Or with programming in general. So Dart is an object-oriented based programming language. So what does that mean? It means that it uses the concepts of classes, objects, inheritance, and etc. I know that this might sound a bit complicated, but it's actually really easy. It's easier than watering your plants, trust me. And I will teach you these concepts, so don't worry. Also, as I told you that the same code base can be used for both Android and iOS, this makes Flutter and Dart really good. So Dart can run without any modification, and also Flutter can run without any modification in both iOS and Android devices. Lastly, null safety. Null safety is really great because it helps you minimize your errors and crashes throughout your application. And we will be looking at null safety briefly when we start to code. So guys, what are you waiting for? Let's quickly jump to installation of Flutter. Let's go. Okay guys, so now let's install Flutter on Windows. Now this process is a bit lengthy, so I would suggest you guys to make sure that you have a good internet connection. We will be downloading Git, Android Studio, Flutter and Visual Studio Code. So let's quickly see how that process begins. So this is the official website for Flutter. You can explore this website and you will basically be able to see what all projects were built in Flutter. Right now we want to install Git. So go to this website git/scm.com. and you can directly write git also on Google. So what is Git? Git basically helps you collaborate with other developers on a project. Okay, so right now we want to download this Git, and you don't need to have an in-depth knowledge of Git for Flutter. So right now you have to click on Windows and then go to 64-bit for Windows setup, and you can just click there and it will download Git for you. Now we also want to install Android Studio in order to use emulators. So download Android Studio and you have to accept all these terms and then download. Okay, so let it download, and now that you can see that Git is downloaded, so let's install Git. Now in the Git installation you only have to click next all the time. Next, click next all the time, keep clicking next. Next again, next. Okay, so everything is fine here, and now we will be installing Git. Okay, now let's untick that and finish. Now what we want to do is open command prompt and just write git. If this comes, this means that Git has successfully installed. Now write git version. Okay, so now what we want to do is install Flutter. So you can go to this website, you can just write Flutter installation on Google and this website will come on top only. So click on Windows, and down there these are the PC requirements that you need to have, and then down here you can either download a zip file or you can just copy this line. Okay, let's copy it. Open your PC and make a folder in the C drive by the name src. Make a folder src. And now you can open your command prompt and you can write cd ... Now cd ... basically lets you go to the previous file. Okay, in the folder you can see that the folders are changing every time, and now you want to change it to the src folder, so write cd src, and now we will paste that line that we copied. So the moment you paste the line, it will automatically clone Flutter. So this is how you download Flutter. Okay, you download it through command prompt. Now let's wait while Flutter is being downloaded. Okay, now what we want to do is install Android Studio. Open Android Studio installer, and you can see that Flutter is still downloading. It might take a while, it honestly depends on your internet connection, so make sure that you have a good internet connection if you want to download Flutter, Android Studio or any other software that we will be downloading in this course. Okay, let's wait. So as I told you, this is a bit lengthy process, so try to catch up. All right, now let's wait for Android Studio, and you can see that Android Studio installer has opened, and you can also see that Flutter is now downloaded in the src folder. Now you can also check your Flutter version here, and you can see that right now it's not recognizing my Flutter version. This is because we need to add Flutter to path. Okay, so basically go in the Flutter folder and copy the address of this bin folder. Okay, so let's go on the bin folder. Now right here in the search, write edit environment variables, and you can click on the first link, and in the environment variables click on path. Okay, in the first column only, and here click on new to add a new path, and this is basically adding the path. Okay, so press OK, and now press OK again. OK. Okay, so next and install. So let's wait for it to install Android Studio. Okay, so you can see that now, right now when we ran the Flutter Doctor command, all these different packages are being installed. So Flutter Doctor command basically tells you that if there is any problem within your Flutter. So you can see that multiple red crosses and problems appeared. This is because we haven't installed our emulator, Android Studio or anything, okay? So this might come for you as well. So right now don't worry about these. And you can see that Android Studio is installed. Okay, so finish Android Studio. Okay, now let's do next and Android Studio will open. Let's wait for Android Studio to open. So let's go next and you need to agree to all these terms. Press accept. Okay, so you have to then click on this and accept these terms as well. And finally this one. Press accept. If you want to read, you can read as well. Okay, now our Android Studio is also completely installed. Let's open it up. So let's create our virtual device. Okay, let's create. And I usually use Pixel 4 because it's a big enough screen for me. So let's click next. And you need to download an Android version first. So I will be downloading this version. Download, and let's wait for it to download. Okay, now our Android version is also installed. Let's click on finish. Select the Android version that you downloaded and click next and finish. Okay, and it will take a while and your Android emulator is now developed. Now we also have to install a plugin for Flutter. So go on plugin and write here Flutter. So the moment you write F, you will see that Flutter appears. You can install it. Honestly, this is not a compulsion to install this plugin. We will be anyways using Visual Studio Code to write our code, and we won't be using Android Studio. So you can write if you want, and it's not necessary. Okay, now you want to restart your IDE. IDE is basically where you will be writing the code. Okay, and let's wait for it to restart. By the way, Android Studio is better for beginners, but Visual Studio Code is much faster, so that's why I use Visual Studio Code. Okay, and now you can see that by default a Flutter new project option appears. And now guys, one last thing that we have to install is Visual Studio Code. Now make sure that you're not installing Visual Studio but Visual Studio Code. Yes, they both are different. Now click on download for Windows. This is the software where we will be writing our code. Okay, and this is the best software to write code. Okay. So let's download it, and the moment you click download, you will see that an option for downloading the installer appears. Now let it download. It's also a smaller setup compared to Android Studio, but you cannot uninstall Android Studio because you have to use the emulators, right, in order to run your programs for Flutter. So we will be using Visual Studio Code. Just click on the installer. Let's accept the agreement. Next, and okay. So let's select this one and next and install. Okay. So with this guys, we have installed all of our different IDEs and softwares that we needed. One last thing, I know that it's been already so many things that we had to download and it's already looking like a regret. I know guys, but Flutter is honestly a really powerful tool and you should definitely consider installing all these that I showed you in this video. Okay. So there is one last thing that you need to install, which is a plugin for Flutter for Visual Studio. So first open Visual Studio, and the moment you install, Visual Studio opens usually itself. Okay. And let's wait for it to open. So you can choose whichever theme you want to use. You will be mostly using a dark theme, and dark theme is the best. if you like light theme, then you are maniac. Sorry to break it to you. I'm kidding. Okay, so select the dark theme, and dark theme is already selected. Now the extension, the plugin that you have to install, go to this and just write here Flutter. And you can click on Flutter and install. You can see that the blue tick is appearing. This means that it's verified, and let's click on install. This will also install Dart for you. So you don't have to separately install Dart. Just let's look at it. So you can search for Dart and you can see that it's already installing Dart as well. So that's a great thing. And next. And after you install Dart and Flutter, everything is now done. Okay. Now your entire installation process is complete, finally. Now all you want to do is just start building projects. Now you can also download other extensions from here. And if you want to by chance use Python or any other language, then you can use that in Visual Studio Code only. If you are a programmer already, then you will know about Visual Studio Code. And if you are new to programming, then I would highly suggest you to use this. You can also use Android Studio. There isn't much difference, but try using Visual Studio Code. So one last thing that I like to install within, I know guys. So one last thing that I like to install is this GitHub theme, and which gives Visual Studio Code a better look. So here I want to select the moment I install it, this option appears. Okay. I can also get this option by Ctrl+Shift+P and writing theme. So I will select the dark theme and you can see that it's already looking way better. So with this guys, our installation is finally complete. So now let's start programming in Dart. Let's go. Okay guys, so now for installation on Mac OS. So I'm using a Windows device, right? But I will give you the best resource from where you can download Flutter on Mac. I have used this video before to install on my other Mac devices. Okay. So before we proceed, I want to tell you guys that in the Windows installation video, I told that I will be using this Visual Studio Code. Okay. And we will be using at the end the Visual Studio Code. So basically when everything is downloaded, when Android Studio and everything is downloaded, you can just download this for Mac. Okay. And then you will see this extensions button, and here when you click on extensions, you have to search for Flutter and you can install Flutter. So that task is pretty easy and simple. If you guys face any kind of problem, you can just let me know in the comments down below. And you can check this video out by Flutter explained on how to install and set up Flutter. This is an older video, but the installation process is same. Okay. The version might be different, but you will be able to download Flutter without any problems. So quickly download Flutter for Mac and let's start with basics of Dart. Okay guys, so let's start with basics of Dart. Yep, the good stuff. So I have opened my Visual Studio Code. As I told you guys earlier that I will be using Visual Studio Code, but if you want, you can use Android Studio as well. It's not an issue honestly. But the thing is that Visual Studio Code is way faster. Okay, so once you have opened Visual Studio Code, you have to go to File, Open Folder. And for this course, I have made a folder on desktop itself by the name course. I would recommend you guys to make the folder in any of your drives, C, D, E, or whatever the fuck drive you have. Okay. For the sake of this course, I have made it on desktop only because see, the reason why you shouldn't make a folder on desktop is because it's not safe, especially if you are making a really important project. Okay. So all you need to do is just go to your desktop, right click and create a new folder. And since I've already created it by the name course, I will select this folder. So once I have opened my folder, you can see this little icon here, and this is basically new file icon. I would click, this is the first icon as well. So I would click here and write the name of my file. Now the name of the file cannot be in numbers, so you can write practice. You can add numbers later, but not numbers directly. So practice.dart. Okay, make sure that you add .dart at the end. That makes it a Dart file. Okay, so now if you by chance are not getting this window, then you can just simply click here or press Ctrl B on your keyboard. Now let's quickly see the basic syntax of Dart. Okay, so by default, Dart needs us to have a main function. Now what is a function? And we will learn them as we code. So let's quickly write the main syntax. So main syntax is void main Now these parentheses and curly brackets. Okay, so void is a return type basically, and main is the name of the function. Listen to me carefully now. So the thing is, let's say there is a machine which when you put raw materials, let's say you put potato from the top and it gives you potato chips from the bottom. So the function of that machine is to make potato chips. Okay, similarly in Dart there are different functions, and by default Dart wants you to have, or Dart needs you to have, a main function. Now void is the return type, and return type basically what kind of value it will return. For void, it does not return anything. See, Dart is an object-oriented base programming language, and I know that it might seem a little bit confusing what that gibberish was or what return type is. So now let's quickly write one line of code and we will slowly see what a return type is, what a function is, and the other important aspects of Dart. Okay, so let's say in the main function, now these curly brackets is where you will write the code. So I will press enter and let's print the holy command, which is hello. Okay, so I fucked up the spelling there. So hello world. Okay, and each command that you write inside these curly braces has to end with a semicolon. See, if I do not end it with semicolon, then this red line appears. Okay, and you can see what the problem is in the problems section, and you can see that here it is telling you that expected to find a semicolon. So this means that, and it is also giving you can just click on it and it will automatically redirect you to this line. We will see this. See, I will be missing a lot of semicolons and you might be missing these as well. They only get perfect when you practice a lot. So don't worry about the semicolons too much. Let's quickly enter the semicolon. And once you have written the code, you can see that at the top of your file, there is a white dot coming here. So what this basically means is that your file is not saved. Just press Ctrl S to save the file. Okay, and the file is saved. Now make sure that you save your file every single time you write a new line of code or add something or maybe edit something. Okay, now you can just click the play button here, which is basically to run the program. You can also do this run, click here, or you can click here. So when I press that run, it automatically writes start and the file name, and now the hello world is printed. Okay, so why did we write hello world in these double quotes? If you are not coming from a programming background, we use basically double quotes when we want to write a string. A string is basically a sentence, a character, an alphabet or something like that. Okay, for numbers you don't need to use these double quotes. You can directly write a number. Press 8. You have to Ctrl S again because you can see that circle coming. So Ctrl S. Now it's not coming. Now you can either click run code again, or you can just go here, press the up arrow key and enter, and it will run automatically. And you can see that 8 was printed. Okay, so this is working fine. All right. Now let's quickly look at what are data types. Now data types, as the name suggests, just try to break the word down, right? Data type, which means type of data. So let's say this 8, this is a number, right? So its data, the type of data is a number. For a sentence which we wrote earlier, the type of data was string. So let me quickly show you what these different data types are and how to write them. So we have to first define what type of data type they are. So first write string, because we will be writing a string. And let's say the name of the variable that I'll be using is name equals to, and I will enter my name Shash. Now what is a variable? Variable is basically something that you can assign a value to. Okay, so you can assign value to this variable, and the value should be a string because we have written string here, and the value, as you can see, is Shash. Now you might notice this blue curvy lines coming under your name. Now why is that? So to look at that, we can again go to problems, and you can see here that it is saying that the value of local variable name isn't used. Try removing value. So what is happening is, if you guys are familiar with memory allocation, or maybe you are not, so let me quickly explain you that. whenever this main command runs, it takes up some space in the RAM, okay? And it is basically telling us to not define this variable until and unless it is being used in the program. As you can see that I haven't used anywhere this variable name, okay? The moment, let's say, the moment I write here name, those blue lines will go away. So what this basically means is that now I'm utilizing it in my program, right? So if I write another for a number, you write integer. A number is basically called an integer, and here you can give positive, negative values. So for integer, I will say, let's say age, and I am 69 years old. Okay, so you can see again that the blue curvy lines are coming, and this is because I haven't utilized age anywhere. Now if I write print age again, so you can see that the curvy lines go away. And let me just quickly save them and go here, press the up arrow key, enter, and you can see that Shash is also printed and 69 is also printed. Okay, so you can basically see what's going on here. Now let's see what other data types are. Now, okay, what if I want to use a decimal value? Decimal means what if I am 69.5 years old? Now you will see that it is showing me an error. Now let's see what the error is. So here you can see a value of type double can't be assigned to a variable of type int. So double is basically, int is a number and double is a decimal number. So you cannot give an integer a decimal value. So the data type is double for a decimal value. So let's say my height is 164.5 centimeters. Okay. So here you can see that the moment I wrote double, I can now assign it decimal values. Now there are a lot of other data types as well. And another data type is bool. And bool is basically really simple. Boy equals to true. This statement here means that boy is true, which means that I am a boy. Okay. If I wrote here false, this means that I am not a boy. I might be a girl or any non-binary gender. Okay, so bool, we will be using bool in the next video when we do loop. So now finally, and by the way, I hope that you understand why these blue lines are coming, because these two variables are taking unnecessary space. Remove them. But right now, for the sake of as you can see that the code is really small, you really don't really have to remove anything for now. But when your code is like, let's say 1000 lines or multiple files, in that case you want your code to be efficient and clean. So in that case you usually remove these variables, and VS Code and Dart do a really good job of letting us know which variables are not being used. Now there is one last data type which is important for us, and that is var. So let's say var roll number equals to hello. Let's say 12123 hello. Okay, so basically what var is that we don't have to define. See, let's say for a roll number, you don't really know what the value is going to be. So I can either write strings here, or I can directly write an integer, let's say 848, or I can also write 4. Okay, or I can write a true value. So you can use var whenever you are not sure of what the value is going to be, right? Let's say you want the user to print something and you are not really sure what the value will be. So in that case you use var. Right now I will give it a string value. Now there are some other data types as well, such as list. Okay, a list is basically a collection of data. So let me quickly give you an example of a list as well, and then we will move on to printing and string interpolation. Whoa, that was a scary word, I know, right? But don't worry, the concept is actually really easy, like really easy. Okay, so let's quickly look at what lists are. So list is basically collection of data, and let's say I have info. Okay, and you need to end it with semicolon, and you can add here in list, you can add a string. Each element needs to be separated by a comma, by the way. Then I can also write here a number in the list. I can define a double value. I can define a boolean value, and I can also define another list inside. So that is pretty cool, right? So a false is also a Boolean value. Boolean has two values, true or false. Okay. And I can also then again write anything inside. So this is basically a list. Now let's say that right now when we are printing, let's remove this print age function and let's quickly print this again. What it is printing? It's printing only Shash. Now what if I want to print my name is Shash, right? Because just writing Shash, it does not give us a clear explanation as to what this Shash is. So to do that, what we will do is we will use this double quotes again and we will write my name is and $name. So what basically happened here, let's quickly print this and you will automatically know what happened. Okay, my name is Shash. You can see that the name variable, when I click on it, it highlights here. This shows that they both are same. And you can see that this variable can be written inside a double quote by using this $sign. This is basically called string interpolation, nothing much. If by chance you are using something which includes more than one variable, let's say I want to check the length of this name. Right now what I can do is print name dot, and the moment you add dot, you see all these different functions. You can basically use them and experiment with them on your own. I won't be covering these functions right now. So when I print name dot length, it's showing me 5. Now why 5? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can see that there are 5 characters and it is showing me name dot length here. Now what if I want to print this here only, in the statement only? So if I write dot length, len, okay, the spelling was wrong. Now you can see that the length is not being highlighted, but here length is also being highlighted. This is because it is taking this value dot length as a string itself, like the rest of the sentence. We want to be able to use this as a variable, right? So for that, what you can do is just open curly braces both sides after the $sign. Now it will take it as 1. Okay, so name dot length. Now if I print this and let's quickly print these, and you can say that my name is 5 is being printed, what we were doing here. Now to, let's say if you want to remove some piece of code that you might want to use it in the future, or if you just want to write basic documentation, you can just use /. This basically unhighlights the code, and this basically tells Dart that you don't have to consider this line or run this line. Now if I run this again, you can see that only my name is 5 is being printed, even though both the lines are here. This is because this is commented out and the Dart is ignoring it now. You also use these slashes to write documentation. So because for big files and big projects, you need to explain other developers as well what is going on there so that they can help you. So right now I can just write here that my name is being printed. So I can basically write anything with these double slashes. Okay, now if I run this again, you can see that only my name is 5 is being printed, nothing else. So this was string interpolation. Now finally, let's look at indexing. This is the last concept in this video, so it will be really quick. I know that this must be a little overwhelming for you guys, but don't worry, it's actually pretty easy. You just need to practice it a little more, or look at the entire video once again and you will be absolutely fine. Okay, so let me quickly remove all of these. Okay, let's keep 1. Okay, now what if I want to, from the name, I want to print only A. Okay, there are weird people out there and they want different things. So don't judge me. But what if I just want to print A from that name? To do that, I can just write name and 2. Now you ask, why did I write 2? So this is because each element, whether it's a string, a list or anything, has an indexing. Okay. Now for S, the index is 0. For H, the index is 1. For A, the index is 2. For S, again, the index is 3. And H, again, it is 4. This is how basically each element is indexed. Their location is defined this way. Okay, so S has 0 index, H has 1 index, A has 2 index. Now if I save this file, now you can see the moment I saved, the extra spaces were eliminated. This is because Dart removes extra storage that is being taken up. Okay, so you don't have to worry about this. Just remember that S has 0, H has 1. Okay, what the heck did I do now? Control Z, Control save. Okay, S has 0, H has 1, A has 2, and so on. So if I now, this file is saved, and if I print name 2, it should give us A. Now you can see that the A was printed. So this is a success. A small leap for mankind. A small... Okay, I forgot the quote. So anyways, you guys can mention that down below. Anyways, now what if for the list, let's try this for the list. Okay, so let me quickly change here info. Now similarly to strings, for each element of list has an index. So the first element, you can see this gibberish has an index of 0. Okay, so if I write 0 here and I quickly print this, you can see that the first element was printed. Now what if I want to print the third element? So this will be 0, 1, 2. You can see that it index is not 3 but 2 because the indexing is starting from 0. So now you can see that the third element was printed. Now what if I want to print this fifth element? Now the fifth element will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it was on the fourth index. Okay, so I will save this file, quickly run it, and you can see that this list was printed again. Now you might ask that how to print these separate values in the list. Now I won't be going into too much detail on how to do that, but that is your homework. Learn how to do that. Okay, make effort from your side. I am not a motivational speaker, don't worry. Anyways, so this first video was completed with these concepts. Make sure that you revise all of the concepts because these were really easy concepts. If you have never tried coding, this might be a bit confusing for you, but if you have tried coding, I know what you were thinking, that why the heck am I teaching this? So don't worry guys, just practice it and you will be fine. Now let's jump to the next topic, which are loops. Yep, let's go. Okay guys, so let's quickly see what are loops. Now, what is the meaning of loop, right? A loop is basically a piece of code. Let's say I want to print hello 5 times. Okay, so if I want to print hello 5 times, the basic thought that would come to your mind is that write print hello, print hello, print hello, print hello again and again. And now you can see that hello is being printed. But what if I want to write it 1,000 times? Now we can't do that, right? We can't just copy paste 1,000 times again and again. Okay, let's say that if you are a maniac and you will do 1,000 times. What if I want to print it 1,000,000 times? Now I am a maniac, but don't worry, we won't be copy pasting this again and again and again. So what we do instead is we use loops. Okay guys, so let's quickly look into what are loops, and let's start with the first loop, which is if, let me write the basic syntax, and else. Okay, this is how if and else are written. Now let's understand this with an example. Now let's say I have a bool boy equals to true. Okay, now I want to print, if the boy is true, I want to print that it is a boy, else I want to print that it is a girl. Okay, so what I would do is boy equals to true. So I'm basically saying print it is a boy. So what's happening here is that if boy is equal to true, equal to means if LHS left hand side is equal to right hand side. You add double equals to when you want to check that both the sides are equal, and you add single equal to when you want to assign a value. So make sure that you do remember this. Let's quickly look at it again. When you want to assign a value, you use single equal to, and when you want to check that both sides are equal, you add double equals to. Okay, and else we will write if it's not true, it can only be false, which means it comes under else. So let's print it is a girl. Okay, and I will write a semicolon. So right now you can see that boy is true, so the statement is being satisfied. Okay, now the moment I save this and I press enter, it is showing me that it is a boy because boy was true. Now let's say that boy is not true and it is false. It will show me it is a girl. Okay, so I hope that you understand what basic of if and else is. Now there are other loops such as for and while. Okay, let me add statements here. For and while are two loops which are really interesting, and honestly we do not need them right now, but first I would suggest you to use if and else and learn them thoroughly, because we will be using these two way more than we will be using for and while. Okay, so for if and else you can also do one thing. What if your boy is neither true nor false? Okay, let's say here only I write if else. So this is what is called elif. What if you want to add another condition, right? Let's say what if boy is equal to false. So if boy is equal to false, it will show girl, and else if none of them are true. Okay, if it's neither boy nor a girl, if it's neither true nor false, then we will add else print nothing here to see. Okay, so let's quickly try to print it, and right now you can see that boy is false, so that is why you are seeing that. So for boolean, basically it can only be either true or false. To print out this else statement, what we can do is one more interesting thing. Okay, so let's say I am using a variable string gender equals to nothing right now. Okay, you can also assign an empty string to any variable. So let's say for now I am printing boy. Okay, and I will quickly make some changes here. Now you guys think in your brain that what should come. Gender, if gender equals to boy. Now for boy we need to use these double quotes. True and false are already keywords assigned for Dart, so you don't really need to use double quotes. But apart from true and false, you would mostly have to use these double quotes every time you are writing a string, even in the condition. So if gender equals to boys, meaning if gender has the value boy, print it is a boy. Else if gender, so we will change this here, gender equals to a girl. Okay, we will print it as a girl. Else print nothing here. So right now you can see that it is a boy. Let me quickly remove this boolean to avoid confusion. Okay, so you can see that print gender is right now assigned the value boy, so we should be printing print boy, it is a boy, right? So right now it is printing it is a boy. Now what if I am writing here something, okay, GRE, I don't know what the heck that means. So let's say if I run the command here, so it is printing nothing else here to see. We can add multiple else if here, so let's add another one. What if in else if we add, by the way there can only be one else for one particular loop, but there can be multiple else if. Okay, so if in else if, let's say if gender is equal to none, or let's say if gender equal to non-binary, you can add spaces as well. Print a beautiful child is born. Okay, and let's print semicolon at the end, and let's go with up arrow key, enter, and you can see nothing here to see right now because the value of gender is GRE. Now I will write here non-binary, and I will assign, I'm basically assigning the value to gender, which is non-binary, and if the value of gender is non-binary, you will print a beautiful child is born, right? So I hope that you guys understand the basics of if else. If I might be using for and while in the future, and if you guys want, you can just skip these two loops for now. So guys, let's quickly move on to the next video. Okay guys, so before jumping into classes, let's quickly look at what functions are, because we need to have a basic understanding of what functions really mean and what they are. Okay, so this is the main function, right? This is the default function which Dart runs every time. So the main function is always written. Okay, now what is the meaning of void? Void is basically the return type. Now what do I mean by that? Let's define another function here and let's name it, let's say it's name giver. Okay, name giver, and I close these. Okay, so now you can see that this is another function. I haven't written the return type yet. So for name giver, we know that names are usually string, right? So I will write here string name giver, and you can see in the problems section that the problem that is coming is that the body might complete normally, cause null to be returned, but the return type string is potential non-nullable type. Now what the heck does that mean? This means that because it is returning string, okay, because it is returning a string, we have to write a return statement. So in order to write a return statement, you basically write return and you return some string. So I will return my name. Because the return type is string, I am returning a string. Okay, and at the end I will add a semicolon. So now you can see that return type for this function name giver was string, and we are returning string. But for void means that this function will not return anything. Okay, so void means that this function will not return anything. This means that if I try to write return statement here, it will give me an error. So this means that you cannot write return directly in the main function. So now what I can do is I can just write the function in the main, and I can save the file. And now when I run the file, you can see that nothing came, right? Because it is returning. It's not printing anything in the function. So to print the string, what I have to do is I need to add a print statement here. And now if I run, you will see that string is being printed. Okay, now let me change the text here so that you guys don't get confused. I have written here my name Shash, and now when I pass it, Shash is being printed because I printed it here. Now remember one thing, you can never write a print statement after you have already written a return statement. See, it is sort of not highlighting it, and this is because you cannot write print after you have already written a return. Return a return. Okay, so always you need to write this before print. And okay, let me write here something else. So in the print statement, it's not necessary for me to write a string only. I can either write a number or I can write whatever the heck I want. I can also write hello. And this time, if I do not use the print statement and I save the file, go to the terminal, press up arrow key and enter, you will see that 3 and help. Okay, so it's neither hello nor help. Let me quickly correct the spelling and now save the file again, and you can see that both were printed. Okay, this is because the function directly has a print statement in itself. So now let's look into what are parameters. This is the last topic for functions, and there are basically different kind of parameters like named parameters, required parameters, functional parameters. Let's quickly look into them. First, let's see required parameters. Okay, so parameters is basically, I will write here a string and I am name, and I will return name here. Now you can see that in the name giver, it is showing me an error. This is because before running, I need a string with the name. Okay, so this means that I want an input from the user itself. So here I want to, I would have to return, I would have to write a string. So you can see the moment I entered double quotes, the error went away because even double quotes is considered as string. And this is an empty string, but even this is considered as string, okay, because empty string. Okay, so let me write here Shash, and now Let's see. You guys guess. If I run the code, will it print this shash or will it not print this shash? Let's see. So it did not print. Okay. Now if I write here print, and I can write inside name, and now save. Now it will print shash, and it is printing because of this statement, not this statement. Okay. I can also return here an integer. So for integer, let's say I am returning an age, and let me print here age. Now you can see that again the error is coming up, and it is showing me that 2 positional arguments required but 1 found. This means that we have asked for 2 arguments, right? This means that 2 parameters need to be entered, but only 1 is being entered. So another that I need to enter is an integer. Okay. So let me add here the time 69 years. Oh, 69. We are 69 years old. And now you can see that the error went away. Okay, so these were the required parameters. Now what if I don't want to make it necessary for the user to enter an integer, an age? Okay, so what I can do is just open square brackets and close square brackets and enter a question mark here. And what this basically means is now this is an optional parameter. Even if I remove it from here, this won't show me an error because now it's up to the user if they print it or not. Okay, so now if I run this command, you will see that it is showing null because there wasn't an integer found here. Okay, and since there wasn't an integer with age, nothing really came up. Now one last type of parameter that we will be discussing is named optional parameters. For name optional parameters, you can just simply remove these square brackets with curly brackets. What the magic here is that now your user will know what to enter. Now if I write age, now they will exactly know that okay, I am asking for age. And now when I print it, it's 69. Also, even this named parameter is optional. So if I remove it, it won't give me an error. And when I try to print it, it will just give me a null value. Okay, so this was functions. Now let's quickly see what classes are. Okay guys, so now let's look into classes, right? Now Flutter, as I said, not Flutter but Dart, is an object-oriented programming language. Now what that means is that it utilizes classes and objects. Now what are classes and what are objects? Honestly, you will be able to find a lot of different definitions of classes online, and most of them are very confusing. So I will not give you the proper explanation or the bookish explanation, to be clear. I will give you a good example so that you understand classes forever and you will never face any confusion in classes ever again. So let's first make a class. To make a class, you have to write class hello world and open close these curly brackets. Now one thing you need to remember, that whenever you write a new word, because in this name, this is the class name. So this class name has 2 words, world and hello, right? So whenever you write a new word for a class, you need to capitalize the first word. So here H and W are capitalized. Okay. And now let me rename my class. Let me rename it to student so that I can give you a better example. Now for a student, there might be different characteristics like string name equals to, it can be their name, okay, and then it can be their age, int age equals to 6. So there can be different characteristics. There can be height also. So let me make it double. Okay, double height equals to 134.5. Okay, so there are these different characteristics for a student. Now what if I have multiple students? So in that case, let's say I have a student named by Shash who has a different height. I have a student named by Max who has a different height. So for different students, the height may be different, right? So this is basically, the student class is basically the blueprint of what all properties a student might have. Now we will make an object. to make an object, we will just write the name of the class, then obj1, or let's give student1, and again call the class. Okay, this is the basic syntax to write an object. Now what this basically means is that there is a student1 who has access to all these properties, and now I want to give its name, age and height. So to do that, for each student, as I said, that name, age and height can be different. So to do that, we use constructors. Now constructors is basically student, the name of the class itself. Whenever you use an object, this whatever code is within this constructor, that code runs first. So if I write print hello, okay, so make sure that hello is in double quotes, end it. Now let's make a function. So now let's make a function by the name hello and world, and I will just print hello world. Let me print hello world. Okay, let me print world here, right? World. So now what basically happens when I create this object is that all the values within this class, right? All the values, they are assigned to this first student. Now I can access all of them through here. So what I will do is student1, the moment I enter dot, you can see that the age variable, the name variable, height, and also the functions, I can now use them using this object. So let's print hello. Okay. And let's run this file. You will see that hello was printed first and world was printed after. This is because whenever you run a class, and the code inside the constructor always runs first. No matter what the code inside is, the code will always run first. So now let's look into how I can give these custom values, right? Now how I can print name. Let's see, print here name. I want to print the age and I want to print the height. Now how can I print these three individually for different objects, which means for different students? Okay, this objects is basically different students that have these properties. So right now when I run this file, you will see that the name is empty, so nothing is coming here. Age is 6 and height is this much, and hello is being printed because it was in the constructor. Now to do that, actually assign custom values to each student, what we need to do is the same way we used parameters and functions. We will write here first string name. Okay, now we will write int age, then we will write double height. Okay, so now you can see that we are asking for different parameters. So now let's give it these parameters. For object 1, let's say my name is Shash. Let's say my age is 48. Haha, I'm an old guy. And let's say that my height is 156.4. Okay, so now you can see that for each student I have different values. Now you can see that this student 1 has these values. I can also use this again. Make sure that the name is not similar to the name of the object is not similar. So I will give it student 2, and now let's say he's Max. Okay, and the age is 30 and the height is 165, a superior human being from me. Okay, and now I can also use this student 2 to access all the values. So you can make infinitely as many objects as you want, right? But how do I use these custom values? If I print here again, I will see that the values which were first are only given. So to do that, what we need to do is, in this code, we need to write this dot name equals to name. Now what does this code mean? This means that the name for this student class, which we defined here, is same as is equal to the name that was provided here. Now you can also write different, let me make it less confusing for you guys. So let's add an underscore here to understand this better. So basically what we are trying to say here is that the value, the name entered by the user in the first object is now this name. Okay, so the value is now changed. Now if I try to print it again, you will see that first Shash was printed, then Max was printed, because we have two objects here. Let me just comment out one object for right now, and let's print again. So you can see that the name for the first object was printed. Similarly, we can use this dot age equals to age. Let's add underscore for all of them so that it's not confusing anymore, and add semicolon, and this dot height equals to underscore height. Okay, see, it's a better practice to write these values before you call the constructor, so that Dart recognizes that these values are present here, and then it assigns these new values to it. Okay, now when I run this file after saving, you can see that the custom value 48 we entered, 48 is coming, 156.4 is coming. Now let's even comment this out, and let's print a statement here so that we can get, let's print an empty string so that we get that space, and you can see that these two are different. Okay, so print statement was for this space, and you can see that max, 30 and 165 all are being printed, and we are able to use these custom values. So this was the classes and objects. One thing you need to remember is that in a class, when you define a function, now this is a function, right? When you define this function, it's not called a function anymore. The name changes and it's called a method now. So they both are same, but when a function is used in a class, it's called a method. Nothing complicated there. And yes, you can write a function without a return type as well, but it's a better practice to add a return type, especially when you are actually returning something. Here, because I was only printing, I didn't really need a return function, so I did not give it a return type. Okay, now let's finally look into our last one concept, which is inheritance, and that will be the final concept, I promise you guys. And after that, we will quickly jump into making our first app. Yes! Okay guys, so now let's look into inheritance. So inheritance is basically a mechanism in which one object acquires properties of its parent class. Now what does that mean? Okay, so now let's quickly make another class to understand inheritance better. I will remove this constructor for now, and I will remove these values as well. Okay, so that we do not get any error, and let's give it a name Shash. Now I'm just trying to explain you the simple concept of inheritance. I will not go into too much depth. So now let's name a class human. Remember that the first letter should be capital human, and I will enter curly brackets. Now a human, let's say I am writing string gender equals to, let's say this is a girl now. Okay, now what this tells me is that a human, I have written an instance which is a instance of a variable which tells me that this human is a girl. Now a human will also have all the properties within the student that we defined right now. Not usually, but right now a human will have a height, a human will have an age, a human will also have a name, right? Now I cannot directly use these values from here into this class. One method is that I rewrite all these values, but while writing code, we try to write as much less code as we can. So to do that, we basically use this concept of inheritance. To do inheritance, what we do is write extends and student. Okay, so what happened, or what this statement means, is that now I can access all the properties within the student class in the human class as well. Okay, so now if I try to print, you can see So what this means is that now I can access all the properties within this student class in the human class as well. Now let's see how that happens. First, let me quickly remove this. And let me make a new object of human. Okay, a human. obj1. I will name it obj1. You can name it whatever you want. And I will give it human. So we made an object for the human class. Right now, I only have one variable here, which is the gender variable. And I should only be able to access this variable. But when I write obj1, I wrote ibj. Okay, let me write, oh my god, obj1, oh man, obj1. Now the moment I press dot, you can see that not only can I access gender, okay, not only can I access gender, but I can also access age, height, name, and hello, which are the functions and variables of this class. So this basically means that now I can access methods and the variables from the student class in the human class as well. So if I write obj1 dot hello, okay, and now you can see the moment I print it, use it, it's printing these values for me. Okay, so you can see that I am not doing it by student1 dot hello. I am doing this by obj1 dot hello, which is the object of a human class. Now remember that this does not work both ways. I cannot access these values from the student as well. You can see that there I am not able to see a gender variable when I use the student object. So this does not work both way, and this only works one way. Now you can inherit multiple classes. You can now make a class, let's say class a boy by the name boy. And now if you extend it to human, you will, let's see it in action. Class boy, which extends to human. Okay, and this we will say string boy equals to yes it is. And now if I make object of boy class, so let's make an object, let's make boy1 equals to boy, calling the class and semicolon. Now if I use the let me remove this object statement here, and now if I use boy1, which is the object of the boy class, and the moment I press dot, you can see that I can access not only boy, not only gender, but all the properties from the parent class, which was the student class as well. You can see that I can also access hello and all the different values as well. So now let's save the file and let's see if it still works. And wow, it's working perfectly. So this is called inheritance, and this is called multi-level inheritance, because now I inherited not only values within this class, but also within this class as well. Okay guys, now the theory part is done. Okay guys, the theory part is done, and now we want to look into how to make our first application in Flutter, because that's what you were here for. So now let's quickly jump to the next section and learn how to build your first application. Let's go. Okay guys, so now that we have a basic understanding of what Dart is, now let's quickly make our first application. Now let's quickly close this folder. Okay, and remove this. Now in VS Code, you have this Control-Shift-P. You can see probably. If you're not, you can just close the Get Started window. And this Control-Shift-P, basically what it does is it makes your life a lot easier. So what you can do is just press Control-Shift-P, and here you can see that there is an option coming, Flutter New Project. If it's not coming, you can just search for Flutter New Project, and it's coming on top only. Okay, so now let's click on Flutter New Project, and it is asking us these different options. In Android Studio also this comes, but in VS Code it's much easier. So you can press Application, and now it's asking us to select a folder. So as I made a folder in courses, I will make here another folder by the name Flutter Projects. And this is the folder I selected. Okay, select a folder to create the project in. So basically in this folder, all my projects will be created. So I select this project, And now I have to name the project. So I will name it first. Okay, so make sure that all of your the naming is in lowercase because the application always needs to be in lowercase. And you can write first underscore app and press enter. And VS Code does everything for you. You can see that it's running Flutter create command, which basically gets all the different packages which are required to build the first application. So you will get all these projects and stuff, and you can see that the first file is automatically loaded. Now this is the boilerplate code, and every time you create a new project, this will appear. If you are completely new to Flutter, I would suggest you guys to read whatever this is written, but don't worry because I will anyways teach you everything. So there is actually no need. Okay, so now you can see that it is analyzing here. According to your computer's processing power, it might analyze fast and it might take a while. You will know when it is analyzed when you will see these text changing to orange, and this analyze tab basically will disappear. Let it analyze for a while, and as you can see that it has analyzed my code. Now what we want to do is we want to remove everything for now. Okay, and we will make a stateless class. You can first write just st. So you can see that automatically VS Code gives you an option to either make a stateful or a stateless widget. Now let's make a stateless widget and write my app here, or let's write practice app. Remember the naming convention, first letters will always be capital, and in the run app section you can just write practice app. Okay, so what is a stateless widget, right? You might have this doubt, what is a stateless widget and what the heck did we just do? What are all these different things which we never even looked at before? Now guys, don't worry at all. I will explain to you what these different things are. First, let's just check if our code is running fine or not. We will return here a material app widget. Material app. Okay. Now, what is a widget? Everything in Flutter can be considered as, well, most of the things in Flutter is a widget. And widget is basically, let's quickly look at what is the definition of widget. What Flutter gives the definition. Flutter widget. Okay, so the widget, what are widgets in Flutter? Widgets are the central class hierarchy in the Flutter framework. A widget is an immutable description of a part of user interface, blah, 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 blah. So no one will ever read that shit. Anyways, it's important, guys. It is important, but if for a beginner to understand, it's a lot of, it's confusing basically. So let me explain to you what a widget is. Everything is a widget. Okay. Widgets are basically different components of the application. Let's say when you see an application, there is text written there. There are different images there. There is a background. So all these can be applied through a widget. An app bar, that is a widget. This material app, this is a widget. Maybe it's still not clear to you guys what a widget is. So let's quickly look at what is a material widget, which is the basic widget you need to have in order to run the Flutter project. Okay, so in material app widget, what happens basically is the material app widget gives you a ton of different values that you can use. So you can give a title. So this is basically title of your app. So I will write here practice. Okay, or let's write here first app. First app. You can give here a home. Now these two properties are always required. So home is basically another class, the name of the class, which the first screen that will be loaded will be the home. And to make the home, let's make another stateless widget class. And I will explain to you guys what is the stateless widget. It's the next video only, so don't worry about what a stateless widget is, what a stateful widget is. So rather than writing class, and you can just write st and you will see the option. You can just select stateless and you can write home page and you can return a container here. Okay, container is another widget. So don't worry about these different widgets. We will be looking into each and every basic widget that is required. And then as we build the PISP simulator and the magic calculator, we will then also look at these different widgets and you will be very clear with what they exactly are. If you are not able to understand them right now, don't worry. Even I faced these challenges when I was learning Flutter for the first time, but you will understand them as we build projects. So for home, we will write home page. Okay, and let's give this here. Now you can see these blue curvy lines coming. This is because this first you can see in the problems tab that there is an error. The error is in the test folder. Now we will not be looking into test right now, but you can simply write here first app. Our first app, or what the name of our stateless widget was, which was practice app. So you can copy it here and you can just paste it. Okay, this is out of the scope for beginner level course, and I won't be going into too much depth of what practice of what testing is. Okay, so now that we corrected that, you can see that it is showing us prefer constant with constant constructors. That is why we are getting this blue line. Now what that basically means is, because there isn't a variable being used here and everything is pretty much hard coded, right? We are not using a variable here. So Flutter says that whenever that happens, all you need to do is write a constant keyword, which is const in front, and the blue lines will disappear. There are different keywords like the constant keyword. You can also see them here. There is then final keyword, then there is late keyword, and we will be looking into each of them. So don't worry as we build our apps. See, I believe that learn while doing, and if I give you a lot of theory, everything will go above your head, right? So this is the basic code of Flutter. Okay guys, so let's quickly run our program and see the output. So you can just go here, and this bottom you will be able to see no devices. I am seeing this because I have already turned on my phone. Okay, you just click here and there will be an option to start the emulator, and you can just start it directly. And then the moment it's turned on, it will take a while if you are booting it for the first time. And then whenever this home screen appears, you can just go to run tab and you can press run and debug. You will be able to see that the device is connected here, and you can just press run and debug. So it will take a while to run the code because you are running it for the first time, but after that it will be smooth. And also there is this really cool feature with Flutter which I already told you, which is called hot reload. So we will also be utilizing that as well. So let the code run for a while, and the moment it appears a black screen, we can continue. So now you can see that the app is loaded. We are seeing a blank screen here because there's literally nothing on the code. Okay, so one more property I want to show you guys before we actually jump to stateless widget is, you can see this debug checker, right? This debug mark. You can basically turn that off by just pressing enter. So you can turn that debug checker off by just using show, and you can see that debug show checker checked mode banner, whatever the heck it is, you can just turn that down to false and save the file. And now you can see that the debug checker is gone. Okay, now in the next video we will be looking at what is a stateless widget, and we will start experimenting with the app and actually fill it with something. So see you then. Okay guys, so in the previous video you saw me building this using this stateless widget, right? Now let's understand what that stateless widget actually means. Here are two stateless widgets. One is the main, and the second one is actually the home page. Okay, so a stateless widget is basically a widget inside which you can have data, and you can see that my app is crashing. So this sometimes comes, and you can just write, you can either do close app or you can just wait. There's sometimes the option for wait also comes, so you can either close app or you can just wait. So what stateless widget basically means is that it will have some sort of data, but the data cannot be changed. For example, it might have a text written like hello, welcome to my app, but you cannot change that text when the app is running. You have to change here manually, and then only the data will change. Now let's quickly look at what exactly that means. So the main widget which we will use is the scaffold widget. Scaffold widget is basically a widget which will basically have your entire page here. Okay, Before that, you might have some doubts about this @override and this constant super key. So don't worry about them. This override is basically, this is another function, guys. So the build function has a return type of widget. Okay, as we discussed earlier, that return type is written at the beginning. So widget is the return type and build is the name of the function. And this is a default function, so this function usually comes, right? And this build context and context. So guys, don't get confused about this. Build context is just that it's just to tell Flutter that where the location of the app is. I know that this might sound confusing, but it's basically to tell where that particular widget will be placed. Now don't worry if you are not able to understand it right now. So right now let's look at scaffold. Now for scaffold, if I just write scaffold and now save the file, you will see that a hot reload is being performed. This hot reload can only be performed when you use a stateless or a stateful widget. And now by default, scaffold has a white color. Now let's give our app an app bar. So to get an app bar, you can just write A and you can see the recommendation app bar, and you can just do app bar and you have to call this widget. Okay, and you can see that app is continuously crashing. This is maybe because I am recording my screen, but don't worry, it won't happen with you. So close app, and now when I save it, hot reload is again being performed and you can see that we have an app bar just like that. So getting an app bar is actually really very easy. Okay, so now let's even experiment a bit more. So within app bar, we have these different properties such as title. So for title, let's give it a text widget. Okay, and now text hello world. You can see that I'm a big fan of this text. Hello world. Okay, and now let's save the file and you can see that the title appeared. Now the reason why I am getting these blue lines, let's quickly see that. It is telling me that prefer constant. So you can, because this is not a variable, this is just simple text here. So I can just write constant at the beginning. Okay, and this will solve my issue. And you can see that the app is working fine. Now stateless widget, if you did not understand it previously, what I meant by stateless widget is that this text here, hello world, if I press on it or click on it, this text can't be changed. You can change it by using another type of widget which is called stateful widget. Okay, but in stateless widget it is not possible. So right now we will be looking at stateless widget, and later in this course we will be looking at stateful widget, because stateful widget is also very important in order for you to make interactive apps. So let's see the basic widgets that come with Flutter, like the text widget, the row widget, the column widget. Honestly, there are a lot of different kinds of widgets, but we will be only covering a few right now, and the rest we will be covering while we build our piss simulator and the magic calculator. Okay guys, so now let's look at the container widget. Now right now we just discovered the app bar widget, and we can see that we added a text widget, right? Now app bar can only be used in the app bar. App bar has a lot of different properties also, but we want to display something in this screen, right? In the body. So to do that, a property for the scaffold is available by the name body, and you can just use a container. Okay, so you remember that you always need to end it with open and close parenthesis. Parenthesis is this brackets. Okay, and now save the file, Control S, and you can see that nothing really came here because our container is empty. Okay, so container has a lot of different properties, and you can look at them by just hovering your cursor over this, and you will see all the properties that come with container. So there is this alignment which takes alignment, padding which takes padding. Let's first see the color property. Honestly, most of these properties you will understand on your own only when you try to practice, and we will be covering most of them while we make our simulator and calculator. Okay, so let's quickly give it a color property, and the way to define a color is that you can just write colors dot, and there are, as you can see, there are different types of colors. Let me remove this window, and you can see that there are different colors. I will give it a color black. Okay, and the black screen appears because we gave it a color black, and it is coming on the entire screen because it's in the body, right? Now you can see here this symbol tells us that this is the black color. Now I can also change it to amber, and when I control save, it changes to amber. Okay, now what if I want to give my container a certain height and width? So for that I have a property of height within the container, and let's give it a height of 30. So let's see what happens when so you can see that the container shrunk down to 30. Let's make it 100. Okay, so this is something that you need to do with trial and error. There is another way, a better way to do this. That method basically uses a media query. Now that is another complicated term, so don't worry. We will be looking at it when we do the stateful widget. Okay, so let's increase the height a bit more. Okay, let's give it a 300 height. Let's give it 300. Okay, and now let me give it a width of, let's say I give it a width of 100. So now you can see that the size is shrinking as I change it. So you can do a lot of different things. You can make custom containers. Here I made a square, and you can also align them at different places by using the alignment property. Guys, I'm just giving you the basic widgets right now. Most of the properties like the alignment property, height property with efficiency, all these different properties that we would have to use in a normal application. We will be looking at it, so don't worry about them. Okay, so as we already saw the text field, now what if I want to add a text on the container itself? Now each and every widget has a property of child. Okay, and even the container has a property of child. So let's give it a child, and here I can basically add another widget. So I can give it a text and I can say hello there. This time not world. I know you guys must be annoyed. So you can see that hello there appeared, but this is not presentable. This looks very ugly, right? And plus the color is also black. So let's explore the text widget in the next. Okay guys, so now we want to design our text widget a bit more, and we want to place it in the center of the square, and we want to make it beautiful, right? Because this is not presentable at all, and plus this is very small text. So to change a text color, to change its size, there is another property within the text widget which is called style. Okay, style and text style. By the way guys, these are some basic properties which you would have to remember. There aren't that many properties that you would have to remember or note down somewhere. These are some basic properties, and you will learn them as you build. Okay, so now let's give it a color. You can see that in the style, a widget by the name text style is used, and which has a color. Okay, so now let's give it a color, colors.white. And you can see that my text is now white. Okay, now what if I want to make it bigger? For that I will give it font size. Okay, so see the mistake I made. You need to make sure that your properties are being defined within the text style widget. Okay, so let me quickly go inside the text style widget and comma and font size. So here you can see these different properties: font family, font features, font size. So let's give it font size of, let's say 50. Okay, so you can see that the size of the text was increased. Now we are seeing these curvy lines. Now can you guess why are we seeing these curvy blue lines here? The error, I already taught you that this comes because the constant keyword is missing. So let's add the constant keyword, and you can see that those lines went away. Right, now what if I want to place this in the center? To do that, you can just click on your text. Here a little bulb is coming, if you can see, right? Click on that bulb, and you can just go with wrap with center. And this is coming an error because the text widget has another widget called constant. So basically Flutter is a mix of widget trees. Okay, this widget will have another widget in it. So main widget was scaffold, then scaffold had a container had a center had a text, and this will go on honestly. So sometimes in the beginning it might get a little bit confusing for you guys to understand what is going on and what are the different brackets needed. But this text, you can see that these properties, it is telling that text widget is from here to here, center is from here to here. And this basically helps you understand the brackets a bit more easily and where a particular widget is ending. So don't worry guys, as you practice, you will understand it very easily. You can see that after I wrapped it in center widget, it came to center. Okay, I can also wrap container into center. And when I save it, you can see that my container shifted to center. Now what if I want to make it bold? So let's do this last feature of bold font weight. And I will give a font weight dot bold. Okay. And now you can see that our font appeared bold. I know guys that you might be a bit bored, but honestly, these are some of the essentials that you need to understand and learn. Like the text widget, how the text widget is written, how an app bar is written, the text style, and these you will automatically learn as you code and build more smart apps, more cool apps, and practice more. And I know that this might be a bit boring, but don't worry guys, we will soon be building our simulators. So let's head on to next video, which is the button. Okay guys, so now let's start exploring our different buttons. Okay, so you can see that scaffold had a property of body, app bar. You can see that body has a widget center. Okay, so I can just click on the bracket here and it will show me where it ends. And after I press enter, I can see that there is a property of floating action button. Okay, so this is one type of button which is within Flutter. So the reason why it is showing me an error is because a button always needs to have this on press property. And I will explain to you guys what is this on press property. And this on press property has one normal type of bracket and another curly brackets. This is known as a lambda function, but don't worry, you don't really have to go in depth. And you can see that the moment I've saved, a floating action button appeared, right? And on press basically means that whenever I press that button, what should happen? So I will print button clicked. And I have to end it with a semicolon. And the moment I enter semicolon, you can see that it automatically aligned. Now I just have to press Ctrl S. And whenever I click this button, it will show me button clicked. How cool is that, right? I can also add a child to this button by just pressing a comma here at the end of this function, on press function, and then enter. And then I will write child, and within the child, let's add an icon this time. Okay guys, because you have already seen a text, but let's see an icon. So I will, for icon, it's just icon. And then the icon is a widget, and within the icon widget, you can just write icons dot. And there are these different types of widgets which you can also find on Google. You can write a Flutter icon widget, material widget pack, and you can see from there. And here I want to use, let's say, I want to use this access alarm outline for some reason. And because this value is not being changed and it is a constant, I will add constant keyword. Okay. I will save this file. And now you can see that an icon appeared. Now whenever I click this, you can see that button clicked is appearing. Okay. And 5 times, this is coming 5 times because I clicked 5 times, now 6 times. You can see that the number is increasing every time I clicked it. Now you can try this on your own. There are also different types of buttons like elevated button and text button, icon button itself. There is a button called icon button. Yeah, I know. And we will be looking at each kind of, and we will be exploring those buttons when we build our final apps. Okay, right now we are just looking at what different widgets are and how to use them. By the way, all the buttons have this property on pressed, and you have to mention this property if you're creating a button. If you're not mentioning this property like this will show me an error. Okay, so you always need to have this on press function. Now let's quickly jump to the next video, which is rows. Okay guys, we are almost there. Now let's look at our row widget. Okay, so now let me clearly remove everything from the body, and I will keep this comma at the end. Whenever you add a new property or a new element, you need to add this comma. If I do not add it, it will not take this property which is next. So always add a comma. Okay. And now let me add a row. Row does not have a property of child, it has children. And row can help you add different containers horizontally. Let's see what that actually means. Okay, so within a row, you can add multiple widgets. You can add many widgets. Okay, so let me write a container and I can write different containers, but make sure, as I already told you, you always need to add a comma after you mention a widget or mention a property, right? So let's add 3 containers here. Container and container. Okay, container. Now see, I did not add a comma before this. That is why I'm getting an error. And now it's a good practice to add comma every single time, even if you do not have a widget after that. So now I added 3 containers and I will give them some color. So let me give a color of colors. Colors dot, let's say amber. I will give one a amber color. Other one I will give, let's quickly mention these 3. And another here I will give it a color of, let's give it black. And here let's give it red. Okay, now let me save it. And you can see that nothing appears. Bummer. I know. Even though we gave it colors, different colors, nothing came because we haven't defined size and height for a container. So let's quickly do that. Height, and I will give it a height of 100 and width of also 100. Okay, I want to make squares, so I will just copy these 2 lines and I will enter them in every container, each and every container. Okay, so let me save them, and now you can see that the 3 containers are now horizontally aligned. There is another property for rows, which is main axis alignment, which takes main axis alignment, and you can here see that it has center, end, space around, space between, space evenly, and start. So let's see what center is. Okay, let's see the center. And center basically gets your 3 widgets, whatever is within that row gets it to center. Okay, now there is also end. For end, it will take all these 3 widgets to the end of the screen. Now for start, it will take when the screen starts. Okay, now there is space between, and with space between, it will add spaces within all the widgets that are inside your row. Here we have 1 container, 2 and 3 containers. Okay, so there are different properties as well, and you can explore them on your own. Now let's quickly see what columns are in the next video. Okay guys, so now that we discovered rows, now let's see what columns are. Let me remove this entire code that I had. Let's not remove the comma, and let's remove everything before that, and let's enter a column widget. Okay, and column is basically all these but vertically. Now here you can see horizontally, column gives you vertical axis. So here again I will add 3 containers, comma container, comma container, comma. Always remember to write comma at the end. And then I had already pasted height and width, so I will be just taking those 3 parameters. And let's give it color. So colors dot red. Okay, and for this one you can see that already one of them appeared because I saved the file. Now colors dot, let's give it a color of black, and let's give this one color, okay, not child, we want to add a color. Okay, colors dot amber. So you can see that all 3 appeared now. Similar to rows, there is main axis alignment in rows as well. There is also cross-axis alignment, and we will look at that in a minute. Main axis alignment. Let's go with center first. Okay. So now let me save the. So now you can see that they are in center now. Now there is also start. Basically similar properties to rows. Okay. And then there is also space evenly, space between. So let's use space evenly now. So you can see that even spaces came, and here also there is space here. Everywhere spaces are now coming. Now let's explore the cross axis alignment property, which rows also have. So main axis alignment is basically vertically for column and horizontally for rows, and cross axis alignment is horizontally for column and vertically for rows. I know that it sounds a bit confusing, but if you experiment on it on your own, you will get the gist of it. Okay guys, so now that we have understood what cross axis alignment, main axis alignment, column, rows, these basic widgets, I would like to tell you that you can also wrap this column in a container. You can wrap a container within a column like we did here. You can wrap anything around anything. You can just click on the widget and you can see that in the bulb icon, you can either do with one of these options available, or you can use a widget, wrap with a widget, and you can name it here. Like I want to name it container. Although container was already available, I just showed you guys to explain you. Okay. Right now here it is telling me that remove unnecessary container, and that is because I really don't need a container right now. Okay, so let's remove this container. And also you can give a color to scaffold as well. Right now it's a blank screen, right? It's white screen. What if I want to give, let's say, green, which is a really bad color choice. I know, I hear you guys, but for the sake of this course, let's do it. Colors dot, let's do blue. Okay, let's do blue. Let's save the file, and you can see that we were also able to change the background color. Okay guys, so now that we have explored columns as well, let's finally see what a stateful widget is, and after that we will be building our simulator and calculator. I can hear your excitement, honestly. I know that you guys are excited. Okay guys, so now let's quickly look at stateful widget. Now before that, right now we created a widget, stateless widget, in the main file itself. This is not the best practice. So let's quickly go to our Explorer here. Make sure that you have the lib folder selected and click on this new file and write, let's say, let's give it home.dart. Okay, we will name it home.dart. As always, make sure that you have .dart in your file. Okay, now let's import this Flutter material.dart. Let's quickly copy and paste it here, right? And now we will make a stateful widget here, and home page 2. Okay guys, so now you can see that these two classes appeared. Now let's first understand what stateful widget is. Like this page created right here is in the stateless widget. If I use this button, I can only print button clicked on the terminal. Now what if I want on the debug console, right? Terminal is this one, debug console is this one. Now what if I want to print it here, and every time I want to change something, right? Like let's say I want to increase the number, which was the boilerplate code of Flutter itself. Okay, now what if I want to make that code again? So let's build that code, but we will be building it way simpler and it will be way easier. Okay, by the way, if you guys are confused about what this override is, within the stateless widget also there was an override. Okay, although I explained this earlier, let me give you again a brief context. Override is used whenever the hot reload, this is hot reload. Okay, whenever you press Ctrl S, your app hot reloads and only one page is reloaded. Okay, the page that we are on currently. So this override is telling, this is basically inheritance, right? It's extending from stateless widget, and this override is telling Flutter that only load this class, do not load any other class, load this class where the pages are available. Okay, because see, this extend stateless widget also has a build method like this, which we created here, and if Flutter went on and created the entire app again, then it will take more time. Because we did not make any changes in stateless widget, we only made changes here, so Flutter reloads this page. Okay, so now let's quickly add a scaffold layer within the stateful widget. And guys, don't worry if you're not able to understand these terms. Override, override is again, Flutter is telling that do not use the create state method. Here the create state method is being called. So do not use the create state method that is within the stateful widget. Use the create state method which is right now here. Okay. And what do I mean by the page that we are on right now? I mean that on the emulator. Now let's go for scaffold and let's quickly add an app bar. Okay, app bar, and I will give it a title. I will say counter. Let's go with counter. Okay, counter. And also you need to wrap it within the text widget. Okay, and make sure that you have the constant keyword so that your code runs smoothly. Now for the body, I will give it a container. Okay, let's wrap it in center first, and child container, and here I want to give it another child which will have a text. Okay, right now let's give it an empty string. So before actually adding, let's change our homepage from the previous homepage to the homepage 2. So within VS Code, you can just remove this line and you can add homepage 2, and you will be able to see homepage 2, and there is an option of auto import from, and this something package. So you can just press enter, and this, what happens is this basically automatically writes this line for you. This line tells that import all the packages from this file. You can see that home.dart is mentioned. So it is importing all the packages, whether they may be classes, they may be different variables, whatever it might be. It will import all of these to this file using this line. Okay, and that is how we were able to call this class here in this file. So the moment I press Ctrl S, you can see that counter, which was on this page, appears. Okay, so now let's write something in text. Let's write 4. Okay, because this is, we are making a counter for numbers. So I want to increase its size and I want to make it bold. So I will do comma style. I hope you guys remember this. If you don't, just follow along. Text style, and within the text style widget, let's give it a size first. Size of font size of 40. Okay, because we want it to be visible. And let's give it font weight also. Font weight dot bold. So right now it's bold. Now let's make a floating action button. You can see that our center widget was ending here because / center is being written here, and the last bracket you can see that it is ending here. So after the comma, you will press enter and write floating action button. Floating action button on pressed, make a lambda function, which is, it sounds complicated, but don't worry, it's just these normal brackets and these curly brackets. Okay, and then add an icon by writing child icon, and let's go with icons dot plus. Okay, so you can see that +1 icon appeared. Now I will make this constant so that I do not get the blue lines, and I'm getting blue lines here, but we will change this 4 to a variable. Okay, so now let's quickly make a new variable with int, and I will make it count equals to, initially the count will be 0. Okay, and I want to print this count on the screen. So I cannot directly just write count here because the text widget takes a string value and count is an integer. So to do that, we need to use string interpolation. I know that you guys might have forgot it, so let's quickly see how to do it. We will just add the double quotes and add a $sign, not an @ sign, a $sign. Okay, so now you can see that 0 is coming here. So now when you click here on the count, you can see that both the counts are highlighted. This is how you know that we are using variable and it's not a string anymore. Okay, and you can also see that 0 is appearing. Okay, so now what we want to do is increment every time we click on this button. Right now nothing is happening, right? So before we do that, let's quickly make all the blue lines as constant. But now see, the moment I did constant on a container, it showed me an error because I am using a variable here, right? And when using a variable, I cannot use a constant keyword. So let's add constant here. Okay, what the heck did I write? Constant. Okay, but you can see that it's still showing me blue lines under container. So let's see what the problem is. And when I click here, it's showing me avoid unnecessary containers. So it is telling me that I don't have to call a container. I can directly call a text widget. So remove container and save it. You can see that there weren't any changes. This means that we can also use a text widget without a container widget. Okay, so now let's implement the +1 functionality, which is actually pretty easy. So in the on pressed within the curly brackets, guys, you will always write your code within the curly brackets whenever you want to print something or do something, okay? Okay guys, so in these normal brackets, you usually add parameters which you will need within this function, okay? Right now we do not need any parameters, but we will look into how to add parameters here also later. So we want to add +1 to this count every time we press this button. So to do that, there is a function called setState. And within the setState, what you want to do is count equals to count +1 and end it with a semicolon. Now what was setState? SetState is basically a magical tool, I would say, that comes with Stateful Widget. You cannot use setState with the Stateless Widget. And this is because with setState, changes that you make on the screen appear in real time. So what do I mean by that? So let's quickly click the +1 button here and you can see that the value incremented. So what basically setState is doing is that it's changing the value in real time on your screen. Now, no matter how many +1s I add, it will automatically increment the value. Okay, so this program is a success. Okay guys, so now that we have the basic understanding of what is a stateless widget, what is stateful widget, and how the basic Flutter code runs, let's quickly jump to the next section, which you all have been waiting for, which is how to build the piss simulator. In that, we will be looking at how to add an image, how to add audio, how to add gradient colors, and make our app even more exciting. Okay guys, so now it's time to build our piss simulator. Yes, so this is what the piss simulator will look like. I made a quick mock-up of how we will be making our app and what it would look like. So you can see that we would have gradient as background, not just a simple color. So we will learn how to do that. Also, we will use this button and we will use this button to play or pause the piss sound. It's weird to even say, I know. So let's quickly start building our app. So let's go to VS Code, press Ctrl+Shift+P and create a new Flutter project. Now we will be making an application. Here in the Flutter projects, you can see that where I saved my first app previously, it's opening that folder again. So I will just select this folder to create the project in, and I will name my app piss_sim. Okay, I forgot the spelling of simulator. So I will give this. Anyways, press enter and the Flutter will do the magic for you. Okay. It will automatically run its extension and create an app for you guys. So let's wait till Flutter actually creates our app. So by default, you will see that it creates these folders. Also, this main.dart file is same every single time because this is the boilerplate code. So what we would do is just remove everything that is here. Okay. So let's quickly remove, or let's keep the first class and remove everything else. Let's remove this. Let's remove this docs because we don't need that. Let's also remove theme because theme, we don't need to use theme right now. And for the home, let's remove this title inside. And we are done. Okay. Last thing you want to do is debug checker. Remember, so right now my app is analyzing. You can see that Visual Studio Code is analyzing my code. So it will take a while till it analyzes. And the moment you see that this little text goes away, this means that VS Code has analyzed our code, and only after completely analyzing our code, Visual Studio will give us recommendations. Right now, if I write show debug checker, you can see that nothing is coming. But once it has analyzed, then only it will give us recommendations. So now you can see that the code is analyzed. Let me write here show, and you can see that debug checker show mode. Yeah, I'm not going to read that. And I can just do here false. And the reason why I'm getting an error here is because this file does not exist. So first let's make a home.dart file. Okay, so let's go to lib, select the folder and create a new file here by the name home.dart. Okay, now let's quickly copy paste this line, because this what basically does is this imports all the features of Flutter in this file. And now all we need to do is create a stateful widget. Now why we are creating a stateful widget? Because we will be playing and pausing. So for that reason, we will be using a stateful widget. Okay, so let's give it the name as home page. Save it. And then here, just change the name to right here, home page, and Flutter will automatically import. If it does not import this package, you can just write import package, name of your application / name of the file, and it will import everything that is in this file here. Okay, lastly, you are getting these blue lines because we need to add a constant modifier. You can look at the problems here that constant constructor is needed, so you can just write constant here and we are done. So let's remove container and add here a scaffold. Okay, and let's give it a body, and in the body we will add a container. So yes, using app bar every single time is not necessary. We can directly use a body or whatever you want, a button or something. Okay, so now let's quickly open a simulator, and then we will run our application and see how it is looking like. So guys, you can see that the emulator is now open. So by the time this emulator loads, I want to tell you guys one thing. Now the app that we will be making is really easy in itself, but the logic that we will be implementing might get a little bit confusing because it is lengthy. Okay, so if there is any part that you guys do not understand, just try to watch it again. Take 2 deep breaths and then watch it again, clear your mind, and you will easily be able to understand it. Trust me, it's not that hard. Okay, so we want our app to look like this, right? So what is going on here is, first there is one container. This container that you can see, which has the gradient color yellow and orange. Okay, then on top of container there are these 4 widgets. One is the text widget, second is the text widget again, then there is this image widget, and finally there is this button, and on button there is another widget called text. So we will be using this logic and we will be basically making the UI in this video. Okay, so let's quickly start building. Here right now you can see that my emulator is loaded. So before making any changes, let me first run the application. This will make my life so much easier, because right now once I make every single change, I will know if there is any problem. But if I write my entire code and then I try to run it, and then if I get any problems, then it will be hard for me to analyze where did I get a problem. Okay, so try to run your project as soon as possible. Okay guys, so now our app is loaded and you can see that it's plain as I won't say it, don't worry. So now what's happening here is, as I already told you, that there are 4 widgets on top of this widget, right? So what we will do is, first let's give it a color. Okay, so I want to give this a color, and okay, now what was that? And the color should be colors.yellow. Okay, and I will save. You can see that it's analyzing my code and now it's done. Okay, so you will not enter a semicolon, be sure about that. Okay, add a comma, save. So now you can see that the entire app is now yellow, but we wanted gradient, right? So to use gradient, there is a property within container called decoration, and within decoration there is a widget called box decoration. Okay, And within box decoration, you can see that there are these different properties of border radius. With border radius, you can basically curve the edges of your container and make it look more realistic, more modernistic. And here is the gradient. One thing you need to remember, when you use a decoration property, you cannot use a gradient property with it. So let me show you what I mean. I will add here gradient first, and okay, let's not add gradient first. Let's keep it like this. Okay. And now if I save, you can see that I get an error. So what this error is saying that cannot provide both a color and a decoration, which means that if you have mentioned the decoration property, you cannot use the color property. You need to use this color property now inside decoration. Okay. So now I can use the color property, and because my app just hanged there, I need to hot restart. So this green button is hot restart and this is hot preload. Whenever your app gives an error, like this kind of error, and you will see here in the variables in run and debug section. So in that case, you always need to restart your app. So this is hot restart. You don't have to stop and then start. You just need to hot restart. Okay. And you will see that here I can see now that restart application. What this is basically this is showing the previous error. Okay. And restart application in restarted. Okay. So now I am again getting these curvy lines. This is because I had to add your constant keyword, but right now won't be adding constant, and you will see why. So let's remove this color property and let's add gradient. Okay. It's because that's what we want to do here. Now with gradient, there are different kind of gradient widgets that allow you to color. So one of them is linear gradient, which we will be using right now. You can see that there is linear gradient. Okay. And it takes colors. Like a row takes children, this linear gradient takes colors. And maybe you remember that in rows, all the widgets that you add, they are mentioned in these square brackets, right? Similarly, in linear gradient, all the colors that you will add will be mentioned in this square bracket. So what I will do here is I will just mention colors dot, let's give it yellow first. And next I want to add orange. Okay. Colors dot orange. So let me save this. And you can see that now I have colored my screen yellow and orange as well, right? So now there is another property called radial gradient, and let me add that, and let me save my file. Now you can see that I added radial gradient. Yellow is in this yellow is the first color that is appearing, and orange is the second. And you can add multiple colors here. Like I can also add colors dot red. So with colors.red, it will give me red, orange, and yellow. Let's do linear gradient only right now. Linear. And let me add the constant keyword first. Let's save it. So here you can see yellow, orange, red. Now, if you want, you can keep all of them, right? And there's one more interesting thing that you can do with this, which is you can mention the stops. Like where should it stop? So let's see, comma stops. So make sure that you are mentioning the stops within this linear gradient bracket. So you will be entering comma after the square brackets, comma stops. Okay. And stops also takes the number of colors you have, the number of stops parameter you will have. So let's add 1, 2, 3. Okay. Let's see what happens. So here you can see that the entire screen turned yellow. So this is not something that we wanted to do, right? So what we will do is we will give each color 0.3, 0.3, and also 0.3. Now let's save and see what happens. So here you can see that it gives proper colors to it, and we don't want this. So we will just remove this stops, because I think that our app was looking way better when it had no stops. So I think that we are missing a bracket, and yes, we are done. And here you can see that Our app is now looking beautiful. Now next thing what we want to do is add these 4 widgets. Also you can see that I have made gradient vertical here, but I like gradient horizontal more, so I am using gradient this way. You can also turn it vertical as well. That is a homework. Okay guys, so make sure that you research how to make this vertically. So now let's add our text widgets and different widgets. So to add a widget, so basically these 4 widgets are within one main widget, which is the column widget, right? So let's add a column widget in the child of this container. So after the comma, after box decoration ends, I will mention the child property and I will give it column. And within column, I will add children. And here you can see that because these are children and not just a child, you will add these square brackets. So here let's add first text. Okay, so we'll see what happens when we add text. And I will say, let's be. Yup. Okay. Now next we will again write some text. And save yourself from awkward situations. Save yourself from. Let me close this Adobe XD window. By the way, I created this mockup in Adobe XD. Figma is also used to create these app mockups, and you can even use Photoshop, but Figma and XD are the 2 main applications to build these phone mockups. Okay, so let me close this window and I will save the changes that I made. I will close the file and let's start coding on our app again. Close app. And now let's save this. Okay, let's first save this. Here you can see that the entire window shrunk. So why did that happen? This happened because container takes the shape of whatever is inside it. Right now there's only this column and these texts, and these texts are not taking that much space. So that is why it shrunk. To avoid this, you can just wrap your column within a container. So let's use a container. And now you can give the height and weight of the width of the container as size.width. Okay, so what is this size variable? And you can also see that I am getting an error. So this size variable basically helps you get the size of your current application. Let's add this size variable here. Okay guys, so to use this size variable, we have to write in the build function, we want to write final size equals to media query. Okay, let's type it. Query dot of, in the brackets we will use context, and I will explain you what this means in a second. Size and enter a semicolon. So now you can see that this changed. Also, one thing you can do is, let's copy this line and remove this container. Okay, you can replace it with a size box as well, or what you can do is remove this container. You can go to the this bulb and you can just remove this widget, and then in the container, first container itself, add this. Now if I save, you will see that it's working fine. Okay, you can see your text above here, and what happened in this final size is basically media query dot of context. Now context is this context, and as I told you earlier, context helps the Flutter compiler. Okay, a compiler is something that compiles the code and runs it here. So it tells Flutter that this piece of that we want, basically whatever screen we are on, whatever device we are using, it will automatically give the size of that device. Okay, you don't have to manually enter again and again and again. So you can see that your text is coming here, and also this black bar something like is coming where you can see the time and everything, and we don't want that. So to remove that, and because we are not using an app bar, this is coming, right? If we would have just used an app bar, so let's use an app bar quickly. App bar. Okay, let me save it, and now you can see that it's looking much better, but the app bar itself makes the app uglier. So let's remove the app bar, okay, because I don't want the app bar. So to avoid this text going way too above, what we can do is just wrap our scaffold inside a cool widget, which is called safe area. Okay, and now let's save it, and you will see that it's leaving some space right now. So my simulator has some issue with it, and that is why it is showing me this extra space. In yours it will work fine. Now here you can see that this text is at the start of the screen and we don't want it there. So we want these texts to come here in the center, not right up there. Okay, so to do that, one thing that we can do is you can use main axis alignment and main axis alignment dot center. Now when we save it, you can see that they both came to center. All the elements within the children will come to the center of the screen. Okay, so now let's make our text a bit more presentable. Here you can see that by default the color of the text is black. Now let's change the color and increase the font size. So I will make it. First let's complete the text. Save yourself from awkward situations. Okay, and I will save this. And here you can see that this text is way too long. So what I will do is just add a \n. And what this \n does is it shifts the line after it in the next line. Here you can see in the output that awkward situation is now coming in the next line. Okay, so let's make our text a bit more presentable. Let's add a style, and in the text style widget, let's give it a color of colors, and let's give it a size also. So I want to give this a size, font size of, let's give it a size of 60. And here you can see that I'm still getting these, blue lines. So this is because I haven't added the constant keyword here. So let me add that constant keyword as well. So now you can see that let's be is looking a bit better. Let's add font weight, and let's make it font weight dot bold. Okay, and it's looking way nicer now. Now let's do the same for save yourself from awkward situations, but we will make this a bit smaller than the title. Okay, so it's like a subtitle. So let's give it style. Oh, not strut style. We want to give it a style, a normal style. So style and text style. Okay, and within the text style you will add color, colors dot white. Okay, so that also turned white now. Now I want to give some spacing between both of them. I can use padding widget or I can use a size box widget. Let's use both of them. So for padding widget, all you need to do is click on the widget, wrap it with the padding. Okay, and here you can see that by default it's 8. Okay, so let me decrease that value a bit. Let's give it 4 and let's save the file, and you will see that now there is more space between both of them. And as I increase the value, let's give it 8 again. Let me close this. Again guys, this is happening because I am also recording my screen while running the application. For you, this will not happen again and again. And let me save this. And now you can see that the space increased. Okay, so one way was padding. Now let's remove this padding and let's add a size box. First, let's remove this padding. Okay, and now let's add a size box. So I will first mention constant size box, and here we will give it a height of, let's say 10, and add a comma at the end. And now you can see that the sizing remains same because previously it had some padding. That is why you cannot see the difference. Let me increase the height of the size box. Let's give it 30. Okay, let's save it, and now you can see that the distance between both of them increased. So 10 is fine, I think. And the reason why I'm getting these blue curvy lines is because I have already mentioned constant before these square brackets. And what that basically means is that all the widgets within these square brackets are now constant. There won't be any kind of change of value within them. Okay, so let's save it, and it's looking fine. Okay, so next thing we want to do is we want to add an image. Okay, so to add an image, you can do two things. First, let's get an image. Okay, let's select this Piss Simulator folder. Let's click here. Okay, click on this screen and add a folder and write the name assets. Now guys, I had already made an image. You can see this image, and what I will do is I will also attach this image for you guys so that you can download it. And all you need to do is just add this image here in the assets folder. Okay, you can use any image. I am using this image. You can use any image. Okay, this is the image right here. And to use this image, all I need to do is use an image widget. So yes, there is literally a widget for everything. And there are two kinds of widgets. One is an asset widget, asset image. Okay, and in the asset image, I will write the name, which is funny.png. So I will write it in double quotes, funny.png. And now we will get an error. Let's see what the error is. Okay, let's say, and you can see that the error is image provider.dart. And when you go to the run tab and you expand this window, you can see that unable to load asset funny.png. This is because we haven't added our asset anywhere. And also, how will Flutter know that it is in a folder called assets where our image is located, right? So to do that, we will use this pubspec.yaml file. Okay, open this file. It's actually, the name is complicated, I know, of the file itself. It's actually a really fun file to use, and you will be installing a lot of different packages in this file only. So here, when you come to line 61, you will see that this assets, this thing is highlighted. Now select all of them and just press Ctrl and slash, the same slash that you add for comments. And now you can see that this will unhighlight. Okay, now this assets, make sure that you press a backspace, and this is basically because of indentation. Now what is indentation? I will not go into depth of indentation, but indentation is a concept which we use in Python and in a lot of different languages. Basically here you can also see that within column there is this, within children there is some sort of spacing, right? So this is because to make the code a bit presentable and to tell Flutter compiler and also the coder that all these widgets come under this children tab. And you can see this indentation happening from the beginning only. Okay, so it's not anything new, it's just a new name. So here what you want to do is remove this and just write assets, which was the name of our folder, and press a backslash. Now all the images in this assets folder will be used up and will be recognized by the Flutter itself. Okay, if you have a folder within this assets folder, then you also need to mention that folder as well. Okay, and the moment you press Ctrl S, the Flutter will run flutter pub get, which is basically a command to get all the new packages or everything, a new change that is being made in the pubspec.yaml file. Okay, so let's close this. And here also you need to mention the proper location. Okay, so assets / funny png. Okay, let me save this. And right now you can see that no change is appearing. This is because our app crashed earlier. So we need to do a hot restart. Okay, not a hot reload, a hot restart. By the way, every time you save a file, a hot restart happens automatically. Okay. And now you can see that there is again an error. Now where did this error come? Let's see again. We already added a file, but still we are getting the error. This is because we did not add the indentation properly. Okay, it was just one space. Now after making changes, Ctrl S again. Make sure that you have the spellings correct. It's ASSETS, ASSETS. Okay, here also I have mentioned ASSETS and funny.png, funny.png. You can see that exit code. So pubspec.yaml code has already executed. Let's go to the debug console. Let's save a file again. And let's basically do a hot restart. Okay guys, so now you can see that our image has loaded successfully. The reason why I did not edit this error is because I want you guys to remember that two spaces are always left before you write the assets. Okay, so make sure that you always remember that. Now you can see that even though our image is loaded, it's not presentable. It's taking the whole screen and it's not looking good at all, right? So to make it a bit better, what you can do is wrap image with a sized box itself. So let's wrap it. And here, let's first press enter. And here you can give it a height. Okay, so I will give size dot height divided by, let's give 4. Now you can see that I'm getting this error, and this is because I mentioned constant for all of these widgets. But you can see that we are using a variable here, right? So I cannot use this constant here. So let me cut constant. Okay, let's cut this constant keyword. And let's add constant for each and every widget now. Because right now for Flutter, you have to do this if you're using a constant widget. Okay, so now you can see that it's looking better, but it's way too small. So let's decrease the number 3. So by the way, this code means that size.height. This means that from the entire size of the screen, height of the screen, you divide it by 3 and give that the height. Okay, so now let me press save, and it's a bit small. So let's give it 2.7. How's that? Okay, and now it's fine. Okay, now again you can see that both of them do not have enough space. So let's wrap with padding, and let me show you one more thing. So here you can see that edge inserts dot all. Now what this will do is give it padding from all the sides, but we only want the padding from top and bottom because we will be also adding a button, right? So for that you can remove this dot all, and you can write dot only and give it a top, property of top, and you can say 20. Okay, let me close this and let's save. And now you can see that we get padding from the top only. Okay, and let's give it a bit more padding. Let's say I want to give 30. All right, so now finally we want to add a button. Okay, so let's do this. After the padding, let's add a size box. Okay, let's add a size box, and size box is constant height. You can either write directly numbers, or you can also use size.height. Okay, it's up to you. Size.height. So I'm getting an error on size.height because I used the constant keyword. If I remove it, this will be fine. Okay, I can use size.height, and let's divide it by 10. So here I got an invisible size box. After that, I will add a comma. Okay, the commas are important, guys. And basically you can give here an elevated button. Okay, so elevated button is another kind of button. Previously we saw floating action button. Now we will be using elevated button. So write your lambda function here, and within the child, let's give it a text, and let's say that it will take play. Okay, now let's save it. Now here you can see that we got a button, but this button is ugly as hell. So let's improve the color of this button. Okay, within the elevated button, you can just but hover your mouse over the elevated button, and you can see all of these different properties. It has an on pressed, on long pressed, on hover, right? And basically there is a button style. So we will be using that button style to create all the colors and stuff. Okay, so let's add that button style before the child. So let's add first style. So first give a comma, and then elevated button dot, okay, add dot style from. So here you can see that in dot style from, it has primary, on primary, shadow color, all these different properties. So let's use primary. And here this basically takes a color. You can see that for primary this takes a color. Okay, so let's add colors dot orange here. Let's save it. So with the elevated button, you can also give it some sort of elevation so that you get that shadow effect. So let's give it that elevation, comma elevation of, let's give it 5. Now here, see the screen. You will see that the shadow gets darker, right? And this shows basically that the button is a bit lifted. You can use these elevation properties for container and different text also. That is in homework, guys. So try to experiment it, and if you guys don't figure it out, just ask the question below. I will tell you guys, don't worry. Okay, but I want you guys to experiment this on your own as well, and look at this more like a fun experience, not something that you have to study. Okay, so right now we created our UI, and one last thing is that this elevated button has proper borders and we want rounded borders, okay? Because rounded is more modernistic. So let's add those rounded borders here as well. So to do that rounded, what we need to do is use this line of code, okay? And you can remove the new keywords. You can directly use this and you will see that our borders are now rounded. So what this code is basically shape. Within the elevated button.style from, we have a shape property, okay, within which we can give the rounded rectangular border, and the rounded rectangular border has a property of border radius, and you can do border radius dot circular 30. Now if I decrease this number, let's give it 20, you will see that the shape changes, right? And I feel that 30 is way better. So in this video we created our basic UI. In the next video we will be implementing the logic and adding music to it. We will be adding that P sound so that whenever you want to avoid social interactions, you can just directly go to your washroom and just click on the play button and the P sound will play automatically. It will also run in the background so that you can use any other application as well. So let's see that in the next video. Okay guys, so now that we have built our basic UI, we need to install a package. And what is a package? To give you an oversimplified explanation, packages are these already pre-made projects, you can say, which will help you integrate certain features in your own project. So like SQFlite, those of you who do not know what SQL is, it's basically database management. Then there is Firebase, Crashlytics, and there are a number of different packages. You can see that there is an image package, image picker to pick images from your gallery, right? The same way you pick images when sharing photos on Instagram or something. So these packages, basically the advantage is that you don't have to code again the entire thing, as these packages are already available with some of the most important functionalities. So you don't need to learn all the names of these packages. As you build your project, you can search either here or directly on Google for different features, and you will see that if a package is available, you can use it. Okay, so right now we want to use a package which will help us play an audio, which is the sound of the piss. Okay, so let's search for audio player, and the name is audio players of the package. Here you can see that it's coming on top. It's a Flutter plugin, and you can see that it has 1338 likes and 120 pub points. So you can just click here, and here you can see the basic documentation of how to use this. And on the top you can see that there is this audio players 0.20.1. This is the version of this package and this is the name. So you can just click on this icon of copy, right? And it is now copied to clipboard. Now go to your editor, which is the Visual Studio Code. Go to File Explorer, open pubspec.yaml again. Okay, so this is basically the main file where you will be installing all of your packages. And here, right under dependencies, you will see a Cupertino icons, right? Just take your cursor there, press enter and paste. And now you can just press Ctrl S, or either you can press this pub get. So what happens is that it will automatically download the entire package for you on your device. You don't need to do anything. So you can see that the moment I pressed Ctrl S, it's saving the file and the pubget command is running. So when pubget command runs, it displays the output, and here when you will see the exit code is 0, this means that the package is installed. So guys, now we can see that exit code 0 is here, and this means that our package was installed successfully. Now you can also install packages for different fonts that you might want to use, right? Or you can install packages for anything. So this was a short video to show you guys how to install packages. In the next video, we will be using this package audio players to play the sound of piss. Okay guys, so now we need to import this package, the package that we installed just now, in our file home.dart. So let's type import, and you can see I will press enter and I will write audio players, and you can see that audio players.dart is appearing. You can just press enter and the entire package is now imported. If by chance you're seeing these red lines here, Right now they just went away, but sometimes there is an issue with installing the package and it doesn't really show here. So what you can do is just go to pubspec.yaml again and click here. This will again reinstall all the packages that are in the pubspec.yaml file. So let's close this, and now let's download an audio which will be the closest and help us simulate the actual audio of a piss, so that, well, that's the main agenda, right? So let's quickly search for an audio. So guys, a warning, these next few minutes might be a bit uncomfortable because we are looking at sounds of actual peeing. So you can, if you want, you can skip ahead, and I will provide the link of this audio, okay? So don't worry about that, the audio that we will select. So let's type piss sounds. Man, there are sounds for this too. Wow. But you can see that this audio is fine. Okay, so it's by the name Sounds for Easy P, and it's by A10K10 TV. So to download this audio, all we can do is just a hack for you guys. You can just remove EBU and press enter, and now it will redirect you to a site called ute.com where you can directly download mp3.audio. So let's wait for it to load. And here you can click on mp3 audio and format shift to mp3. Now this will download the audio for you. For this audio, let me change the name first because this is a very long and complicated name. So I will just write rename this. Okay. Now guys, make sure that in the pubspec.yaml file, your here in the assets folder is mentioned. As we had already mentioned this folder when we were applying this image, there is no need to do that again. Okay, so let's close it. And now what we want to do is, when we press the play button, we want the sound to be played. Okay, it's just simple. So what we will do is, now first make an object for that class. So what is the class? Let's see. Final player equals to audio cache. Okay, so this line basically came in the documentation itself from where we downloaded the package, the pub.dev website, and you can check the documentation yourself too. And now what you want to do is just player.play, and in the brackets you have to enter the file name. Okay, so the file name will be piss dot I know that this might be a bit uncomfortable, but trust me guys, it's really funny. Also, a good practice is to just hot restart the application when you mention these files. Okay, so now that we have restarted successfully, you can see in the debug console, restarted application in blah 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 milliseconds. Okay, so now let's test our app by clicking the play button, and you can see that we got an error. So let's see why the error is coming. Let's quickly close this file. Whenever you get an error, a certain file opens, okay, with respect to that error. So let's see in the play, and here you will see that no implementation found for the get temporary directory on channel plugins flutter.io/path provider Android. Okay guys, so to understand why this error is coming, let's quickly press right click here and let's copy the value, and let's search this problem on Stack Overflow. So you can just enter here on the Google website itself, and here you can see that Stack Overflow answers are coming. So as a programmer, you will be visiting this website a lot to search your questions and search your errors. Okay, so here I found this error, that this error generally occur when you get a plugin and not build the app again. If this is your case, after getting the plugin on pubspec.yaml, reinstall your app. So this basically means is that you might have to reinstall this application again. So to do that, you first stop the application. So here you can see that it's terminating the debug session, which basically means that it's going to stop running. And then in the emulator, you press the home button. Okay, so this will get us to the home. Now you can see that sometimes our emulator also hangs. This is happening for me because I am recording my screen while building. Okay, so this is not that frequent. It sometimes happens, sometimes it does not happen. and you can see that it's still showing the loading sign. So let's wait for it to load, and now it's loaded. Okay, so you can just swipe up. So you can just swipe up and this tray will be displayed, and you can just go to this application. Here you can see that we named our app and this is coming. So what you can do is just hold it and uninstall the application. Okay, and we will uninstall it. Okay, so now you can see that the app is uninstalled, and okay, why is this opening? And now you can just run and debug again. Make sure that your device is still connected and it's showing the device that you're using. And now let's wait for it to launch and run. So guys, now you can see that I restarted my application. Now all I need to do is just press the play button, and you will see that the audio is now playing. Okay guys, so this was a P simulator. I hope you learned a lot of things. If you faced any difficulties or challenges, you can just rewatch the videos, or you can mention your question down below. Okay, now one thing that I did not tell you guys is how to stop this audio. One option can be to clear this app from the cache. Okay, just go to this and remove it and the app will stop. Another is to directly press a button and to pause it. So this is a homework for you guys, and you can look at this from the documentation only. It's actually very easy. And if by chance you guys are not able to find the solution, you can just ask a question. And if majority are not able to do this, I will answer the question definitely and copy paste the code to pause as well. Okay. So this was our first application that we built. So now let's quickly build the magic calculator. Okay guys, so now it's time to build the magic calculator, our final application. And this is the basic design that I created for our calculator. You can see that I created it in Adobe XD. You can use Figma or Adobe XD, anything to create your basic designs. And honestly, it's not even important every single time to make your design if you're just building a sample project. So this is how our app would look like. And I just made this to give you a basic overview. So what will happen is that if you know your friend's birth date, you can just enter that first here. Okay. And then press equal to. So the moment you press equal to, the color of this equal to button will change, and then you can enter just bunch of random numbers. You can ask your friend to name a 3-digit number, they will enter, then you can add, multiply or whatever, and then you press equal to, their birth date will appear again. Okay, the date that you entered at the beginning. So let's quickly code this. In this video we will be making the UI, and in the following videos we will be adding the logic and making it a better application. Okay, so let's open our VS Code. Let me minimize this, and let's I hope you guys know how to create a project. Ctrl+Shift+P, Flutter, and new project. You can select it as an application and then select the folder and name the app. So I will give it magic_calculator. Okay, so let the app build quickly. So let's wait while the app is building. And you can see that app is built now. Now let's wait for it to analyze this code, and we will know the moment it's analyzed when it turns orange. Okay. For you, the color might be different, but you will basically not see the analyzing tab right now because I just opened it. It's not appearing. It will come and then it will analyze the code. Okay. So till the time it's analyzing, let's quickly remove the boilerplate code. So we do not want anything from here. And the first class, the first stateless class, which is the my app, let's keep it. And let's remove this theme data. Okay, let's write here the name of our application as magic calculator. Magic calculator. Okay. And you can rename your app if you want. You can write here magic calc. Okay, I'm not giving it a big name, so I have to change everywhere where my app is written. This is a constructor, as if you guys remember the constructor, and we will change the name here also, magic calc. Okay, so let's save whatever the changes we made. And let's remove this title as well. Now let's save it. It's still analyzing, so let's wait till it analyzes the code. Okay, so now that our code is analyzed, we can just first add the constant keyword here to remove these blue lines. Okay, and you can see that we don't have a class by the name my homepage, so that is why this error is coming. So first let's create a new file and call it homepage again, home.dart. Okay, let's name it home.dart, and it's creating the file. And what we will do is just replace the name here. So let's first copy and paste this. Let's basically, I hope you guys remember that this imports all the classes and functions of Flutter and gives you access to them. So now what we want to do is make a stateful widget. Okay, and we will give the name as homepage. And now just remove this my. I hope this works, and I have to import that file here. Import, let's go homepage directly, home.dart. You can see that it's coming. So these suggestions are really helpful, and if you are not getting these suggestions, try to reinstall this Dart in Flutter. Okay, so now you can see that there is an error in widget_test.dart. So what you can do is just copy this here and rename this my app. Save the file and save this file as well. Let's remove the container and add a safe area. And inside the safe area, I want to give it a child, and let's give it a scaffold. Scaffold. Okay. Now I will save this, and now I will quickly run my application. Okay, so our project is loaded now. Let's also remove this debug checker here. Okay, so this is inside this only. Show debug checker equals to false. All right. So now let's see how our UI looks. So it is black in color, right? But it's not exactly black. Let's click on this, and I can just get the color code from here. Copy. So let's give our scaffold a color, right? So this is how you can basically add color codes to your, instead of writing colors dot, you can do this color bracket, you will write 0xff and then paste the color code, which is, and remove the hashtag, which is basically now the color is added. Okay, so let me show you. The moment I press save, the screen is now with that color. So I want to make a container. You can see here there are two containers, 1 and 2. Okay, this entire container, and within that container there are these different containers, and they all have a child of text. Okay, so right now let me make these two containers. One container will have the text and the other container will be this entire container. Okay, so let's do it. And right now in the body property, make sure you write this inside scaffold itself. In the body, you will give first column, because there are two columns, right? Children. So we'll make one container and another container. Okay. Let's also get the size variable here. Final size equals to media query. Okay, not this. Media query. 1 second. Dot of context dot size. And if you forgot what this means, this basically gives you the size of whichever device you are using. So for the first container, let me just give it some color so that we can differentiate. So I'll give it colors dot, let's give it amber, and the second one I will give colors dot pink. Okay, let me save them, and nothing will appear because they are practically, well, they are invisible, right? Because they don't have a height and width. So let me give it a height of, let's say, size dot height, and we will divide it by 50. Okay, let's save it. And this is too small, so let me just reduce the value a bit. 30. Okay, let's go for 20. Okay, and similarly you can see that it's, although it's enough, but let's do just a bit more. Let's go with 15. Okay, this is fine. And in the another container, let's give it a height of size.height by, let's go for 3. Okay, because it's a big container, we want to use majority of the screen, so it's still not enough, so let's divide it by 2. Okay, so this is fine. Now for the column, what we can do is just press enter first, and let's give it a main axis alignment of main axis alignment dot end, because we want both of them to be at the end, right? So let's save that, and now we can see that they're here. Let me also quickly increase the size of this pink container. So let me give it 1.5. This is way too much. Let's go for 1.7. Okay. So this is basically what you need to do every single time. You have to try to do trial and error. All right. And now we want to get the color of this container, the major container. Let me get the color is this. Okay, let me copy this, and you guys can see the color codes. You can just copy them. And for the color of this pink one, let me give it color open brackets 0xff. So this is the basic syntax that you need to write in order to define a color code, and remove the hashtag. And now let's save this, and you can see that the color is differentiated here. So make sure that both of these colors are not too similar, because you will get the idea then that they are different containers, right? And for this container, we can just keep this yellow for now, so that we can see where the container exactly is. Also, you can add a constant keyword here, and let's save it. So now what we want to do is, you can see that here the borders, let me just zoom in a bit, and you can see that the borders are curved, right? So to do that, we can use decoration. Decoration is a property for containers. Let me press enter at the end. Decoration and box decoration. Here it is. Now I'm sure you guys remember that if you use decoration, you cannot use color separately. You have to use color within the decoration itself. So let's enter and paste it here. Remove this constant from here and add it on the parent widget itself. Okay. Okay. So now that's fine. Right. And now we want to curve the borders. So to do that, what you can do is, there is a property called border radius, which takes, let's see, what does it take? It takes border radius geometry. So for the border radius, you can do border radius. Okay, border radius. You can either curve all the edges, or you can curve just the top 2, right? So bottom left, you can do radius dot circular, and you can give a number here. So let's give 30. Okay. So you will not add a semicolon, and you will add a comma, because you can also add different things. So we will not use bottom left, we will do top left, because we want to change the top left and top right. Okay. And let me quickly change it, top right, and let's go with radius dot circular, radius dot circular, and 30 here again. Okay, now save it, and you will see that the radius is curved. Now this is, the difference is not that much, so let me curve this a bit more. 50, let's go for 50 here as well. And now you can see that it's curved, and the curve is also visible. So now that our container is circular, let's start adding different widgets here, these different widgets, right? So let's count. There are total 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 rows. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and each row has 4 columns. Okay, so can you guess what will be the parent widget here? Okay, so let's quickly code in order to understand it a bit more clearly. So for the container, let's give it a child. Okay, make sure that you are doing this outside the box decoration. You can just click on the parenthesis here and then press enter to know that you're outside. And here, what you can do is, you can give it a child, and then child, we will use column. Okay, children. So there are, as we saw, that there are 5 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we will be building 5 rows. So let's go with row. Okay, this is one row. Now this is another row. Now this is the third row. You can copy paste these also, but I like to type because it improves my typing speed and accuracy. So let's save this. And right now you can see that nothing really is visible here. Okay, so see, we made a widget here, right? Within this status widget. Now let's make another widget, a widget, because all these containers, you can see that they are similar, right? And writing them again and again and again will be a hassle, and it will honestly bulk up your code. So we will make one container and give a layout that the color will be same and the color of the text and what text should be written, and then we will use these widgets here. So let's quickly see what I mean by that. First, let's make a widget. Okay, to build a widget, you need to, the W should be capital, and let's call it blocks. Okay, and you can just open, close these and build this. And it's showing an error because it needs to return a widget. So we will return a container. Okay. Now add a semicolon at the end. So now what we want to do is that we want to make a container which looks like this. Okay. And let me get the color of this container. The color code for the background and these cubes is same. So you can copy paste from there only. So let's make a decoration. And in the decoration, let's give box decoration, right? Box decoration, and let's add a color. And you can just copy paste the color from here. It's the same color. Copy and paste. Okay, right now you can't see anything because it doesn't have a height and width, and also this block is not being called anywhere. So let's give it a height of, let's give 20 the height and also 20 the width because it's a square, right? And let me call this widget in one of the rows, okay, so that you guys know how we will be using these. So let's make a children and let's call this blocks. And now when I save this, you will see that a small block is appearing here, but this is honestly very small. So let's increase the size. Let's make it 60, not 760, 60. Okay, and go for 60 here as well. And let's save it. And now you can see that the block is a bit larger. So let's go for 65. How about that? I know that this trial and error might get a bit frustrating sometimes, but this is fine. Okay. And we also want to give it a padding. So let's wrap this container with padding. Okay. And let's reduce this by 4. Let me save it. And now you can see that it's padded. But I want to give the padding more on top and less on left and right. So how do I do that? So to do that, let me remove this and write dot only. The padding on top should be at least 10, but on left it should be 8, and on right it should be 8 as well. Okay, let me write right here. It should be 8. Now it's looking much better. Now we also want to curve the square edges, right? Because it will look more modernistic. So to do that, the same way we did here, we will use in the box decoration itself, add a comma and use the border radius property. Okay, we were using this in the color, not in the color, but in the box decoration. There is a property border radius which we used earlier, and give it a border radius, and this time we will use dot all. Earlier we used dot only, now we will use dot all. Okay, let me save first so that it's coming here, and here you can say radius dot circular, and it should be 50. Okay, let's save this file. And now you can see that it turned into a circle, but we want it to look like a square only, but with curve edges. So let's decrease this to 30, and still not much difference. So let's go with 10. Now it's looking fine. Okay. So first add constant keyword here at the beginning of box decoration to avoid the blue lines. Now you can see that it's looking much better. Let me increase it to 15. Okay. Now it's looking a bit more modernistic. And let's also increase the size of these. So 75. And let's go with 75. Now this is way too big, so let me go with 70. I should have used 70 in the first place. Alright, so now what we can do is, just because we have 1, 2, 3, 4 here, 4 blocks here, what we can do is just simply write block again and again. Okay, and we don't have to write that entire part. Just write blocks, comma, blocks. Okay, and let me save this, and you will see that all 4 are appearing. So right now we want them to be in center. Okay, so to do that, let's go with main axis alignment, not main axis alignment dot center, and you can see that they are centered perfectly. All right, let me increase the padding here to 14. You can also increase the size of this calculator. You can experiment on it on your own, and whatever you like, according to your liking, you can change the UI. All right, now what we want to do is we want to display something on this, right? So let's make a child here. For this container, let's make a child. Now make this child outside the box decoration. Press enter, child, and we want to create a text widget because we want to display what number or thing is being displayed up, right? So on text widget, let's do 1 for now, and I will do a style, text style, and here in the text style I will give it colors dot white. Okay, let me save this, and you can see that 1 is appearing but at the top, so we want to show 1 at the center, right? So wrap this text with the center, and now 1 is appearing at the center. Now let's increase the size of this text. So let's make it font size, and let's give it 30. Okay, it's looking much better now. And let's also make it bold, not font family, font weight dot bold. Okay, let's save this, and now we are done. So but right now the value is 1 and we want different values, right? We don't want the same value. So what we can do is use parameters and accept different values each time. So let's add a parameter here of the term string. Okay, and we will write a string, and we will write, let's say let's give it text. Okay, and now you can see that error is coming here because it wants us to give a string. So in the first case I will give 1, in the second I will give 2, in the third I will give 3, and the fourth I will give 4. Okay, no, not dollar but 4. Alright, now in the text widget I gave the value of text, which is basically this text which we are entering from here, right? And add constant keyword here to avoid these blue lines. Now let's save, and you can see that 1, 2, 3, 4 are appearing because I got the value using this parameter 1, 2, 3, 4, and now these values are being used in the text widget. Okay, but first we need to add AC, CC, percentage, and this divide sign. So to do that, what you need to do is let me copy this block, okay, because we will anyways be making this. So let's copy this row and let's replace it with these rows which we created earlier, because this is going to be the pattern, right? So let's replace it and let's save, and let's see how our app is looking. So you can see that it's looking much better and like a calculator now. So let's see, first is AC, then it's CC, percentage, and divide. Okay, so let's give AC here, then it's CC, then it's percentage. So let's see where the percentage is on my keyboard, and let's finally give it divide. So by default that divide sign this divide sign, it comes under icon, and I'm using this sign right now. It doesn't really matter. Okay, let's save. 4 is in the third row, 5, 6. Okay, then in the fourth row we can say 7, 8, 9. And in the final row there is the 0 point and this slash again. The divide we already used this, but you can use a backslash. Honestly, we won't be using these buttons, so you can use a backslash, and you can then give here. Now backslash is an operation in Flutter which helps you go to the next line, so you cannot use backslash. You can just use, so you can use colons instead. And then there is 0, after which there is point. And on the right side there are equals to, plus, minus and multiply. So let's get those also. So this is equals to, then this is minus, then here there is plus, and here is multiply. Okay, let's save this and let's see how our app is looking. So it's looking like a calculator. Now you can see that here these 3 are green in color and these 5 are red in color. So to do that, what we can do is, basically right now we gave it a hard-coded value of colors.white. We can also accept a value of color as a parameter and give it the name color. Okay, but we want to make it optional because white is for most of them and green and red are for only some of them. So what we can do is add a question mark here, and this basically tells it that it can be null, and make it in square brackets, which will tell Flutter that it's an optional parameter, so it's not really required. But then you ask that if I write color here, okay, and you have to remove this constant keyword because whenever you use variable you cannot use the constant keyword. And when I press save, what color will it appear? So by default it will give us the black color, but we want the white color, right? So what we can do is we can use this statement in Flutter where we can enter double question mark and do colors dot white. This basically tells us that if the color value is null, if nothing is entered, you can see that I haven't entered a color. So if the color value by default is null, it will automatically assign it a color white. So now the white color is assigned. Okay, so let's give these 3 green color and all these red color. Okay, so let me enter comma and colors. Okay, colors dot red, and let's just copy. Okay, this was green, the first row is green, so let's just copy this, let's paste it here with a comma. Okay, let's do comma and paste, let's do comma and paste. And for, okay, no, also divide is red, right? So let's go red here, and let's now copy this colors dot red and add this here. Okay, now let's save a file, and you will see that green and red are appearing, and this is looking really beautiful. Okay, you can also increase the size, as I already told you, increase the size of these containers and change and tweak the design a bit more according to your liking. Now this was the basic UI. In the next video, we will see how to actually input the logic, right? And how to make these containers clickable. Okay guys, so in the previous video, we designed this basic UI. Now let's add the logic here. So first let's remove these blue lines, these blue curvy lines coming by adding the constant keyword. Okay, let's save this. And now I will give this container, the yellow container, because that's where we want our text to be displayed. I will give it a child and give it a text. Okay, let's go with text and let's write here hello, and I can remove this color now, and I will also give this a styling. Let's give style of text style. Okay, and let's give color, colors dot, okay, colors dot white. Let's save this file and you can see that hello is appearing. Now what we want to do is whenever we press any of these widgets, let's say whenever I press one should be displayed here, right? So to do that, let's first make a variable and let's call it string calc text. Okay. And let's assign it a value. Let's say I write hello here. So this is basic, right? You guys already use this. We can just replace this hello with calc text. And let's save this and hello should appear. Okay. Right now, also we want this hello to start from the rightmost corner, right? So we can give this a main axis alignment. Even though it's on the end, we can just wrap this container with a row itself. So now this is a row inside a container. This is an entire container which has two blocks, this hello and this big one. And now hello is also wrapped inside a container. And what we can do is just give it main axis align dot void main axis alignment and main axis alignment dot center. So now I did center, I have to do it end. Okay. So now it will start from the end itself. So right now it's showing me this error that size box for white spaces. This is because container can be replaced with size box when not using the color properties or the decoration properties, because size box does not have a property called color or anything. It is basically invisible, size box, and it is used to assign heights. So now we have this hello here, and quickly let me add a size box here also. Size box. Let's add a comma at the end and give it a width of 20. So I added size box in front of hello. I had to add it at the end. Okay, so let me add size box here. Now let's save this. So you can see that there is some sort of padding here. I could have also wrapped it with padding widget and give padding dot only and give the right padding. But I did this to show you guys how you can use size box. Now let's give a constant here. Save it. So we also want to increase the size of this text. So let's increase the font size and let's make it 30. Okay. And now also add constant keyword here. Now guys, one thing you need to note. If I write a really long text here, let's say I add some gibberish, and now if I save the file, and now you can see that this render overflow error is coming. Let me show you the error real quick. This is a render flex overflowed by 93 pixels. And what this render overflow basically means is that your text is going outside of the screen. A screen has a fixed value, right? And your text is going outside of the screen. So now you can see that this error render overflow is coming. And you can see that when I expand the window, you can see that overflowed by 93 pixels on the right. So this basically says that your screen only has this much area and it's crossing this area, so it's going out of the screen. So that is why it's not able to render. So to avoid that, what we can do is just wrap this row with a widget, and that widget is called single child scroll view, and this will basically help you to scroll left and right. So by default the scroll direction is vertical, so this helps us go up and down, and we want to make it horizontal. So to do that, we can do scroll direction and axis dot horizontal. Okay, let's save this. And now you can see that the error is gone and we can easily scroll. So let me remove this gibberish here and let's make it an empty string for now. Okay. You can also clear your debug console by pressing this icon so that it's less messy. So right now we want to make these containers clickable, right? So to do that, what you can do is wrap this padding in a widget, which is called gesture detector. And what gesture detector lets you do is make anything clickable. So gesture detector has a property called on tap. Like a normal button which has an on press property, a gesture detector has an on tap property. They both are similar. So on tap, I can basically do print, and let's print the text. Okay, let's print the text itself, which we are taking. Let me save it. And now you will see that whenever I click on 1, I can see 1. When I click on 2, I can see 2. I can click on 3 and I can see 3. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. What here is 0 point equals to I plus, and whatever the heck I want, I can basically do here. So now we want, whenever we click on 1 appears here. Right now this gibberish is still coming because I need to reload my application. So let's reload it. Okay. And now what I want to do is I want to change this empty string to the string which I entered. So to do that, we can use set state, and we can say that the empty string, which was calc text, equals to calc text plus the text that we are pressing right now. And let's save this. And now let's see what happens. 1 is coming. Okay. Now let's give 2, 3, plus 6, 5, 7, 4. But right now if I press equals to, it will give me an equals to and we don't want to do that. So, and plus if I press CC, AC, nothing is happening. So let's see how can we give these proper functionalities. Now because this is a magic calculator, we will not add all these functions, right? We only want to display the birth date. So let's see how can we do that. So to do that, first we want the AC button to work so that if you by mistake enter a wrong text, you can just clear the entire thing. Let's add if else here, okay? Let's add if else. If text equal to AC, right? I want to do set state and I want to basically empty the string. So I want to now empty the string and I can just give it an empty string value. So now let's save it, and you can see that now the string is being emptied. And this is happening because set state is also mentioned here. So I can basically wrap that in else. And now let's cut this piece, the set state function, cut, and let's paste it here. Now let's save it. And if I press AC, you can see that the text was gone. Now let's add equals to functionality also. Okay. Let's go here, press enter. If text equals to. So the basic logic of our magic calculator is that first we will add the date of birth. So first we can just ask our friends for the date of birth. If we know their date of birth, then we can just simply enter the date of birth and press equals to. Okay. And then the color of this equals to should change. And then what will happen is I can write something. I can write different text plus equals to, different these things, and then multiply. And whenever I press equals to again, the color will change back to red and this text will be erased and the birthday that we stored earlier should be printed here. So how to do that? So in the if text equals to, I know that this might sound a little bit confusing, but let's code first and you guys will get a clear idea of what I'm trying to say here. So let's make another variable first. Let's declare a variable by the name int count equals to 1. Okay, let's give it 0 by default, right? And add a semicolon. Let me save the file. So now inside this nested loop, make sure that you have else if written here, not just if, okay? Because we need to write else if, as it is a part of this if loop only, the first loop only, okay? So now inside this else if, what we want to do is we want to store a value. So first we will write the date of birth. Let's say I was born on 27th August, okay? So I will write 2708 because August is 08, and then I will press equals to. So the moment I press equals to, the value is saved and the text empties again. Now, and to tell us that the value is saved, the color of the equals to sign changes. Now, when I will press equals to again, it should give me the date of birth. Now, what do I mean by that? So don't worry guys, I will tell you. First, define a string, another string by the name string dob equals to this. You can make it an empty string, okay? And now what you want to do is inside this else if, make a nested loop. Now, what is a nested loop? A nested loop is a loop inside a loop. So what this means is that add if count equal to 0, we want to say that set state, okay, and we want to say that now dob equals to calc text. I will explain to you guys what this means. Just add count equals to count plus 1. Either you can write this statement or you can write count plus equals to 1. They both are similar. Okay, so remove one of them. And finally, you want to empty the calc text again. Now pause the video here and try to understand what just happened. If you guys did not understand, let me explain you. So what happened is, first I will write my date of birth. Okay, let's say I write 2708. By default, the count is 0. Okay, so if I press the equals to button, which means that this loop will activate and it will check if the count is 0. If count is 0, it will assign that empty string dob the value which I have currently written. So the value will be saved here in this empty string, and then it will increase the count by 1, so that next time when I click again equals to, it does not again come back to this loop. So this will increase the count by 1 and make the calc empty. So let's save this. So let's hot restart our application. And also let's add a condition here. So let's do this. When count equals to 0, okay, I want to give it a red color. Otherwise I want to give colors.blue. So what this statement basically means is that it is a simplified if-else statement. It says that if count is 0, which means that if this condition is true, then give color red. Otherwise, if the condition is false, give color blue. So right now it's giving us color red because initially the count is 0. Okay. Now I will add my date of birth, 2708 here. And the moment I press equals to, this will turn blue. This means that our count is now increased and dob has the value. Now let's add an else in this if statement where the count is mentioned. Let's add an else. Let's do set state. And now we will change the value of calc text to the value that we stored dob. And the moment I press equals to again, this will show me the date of birth. And let's also decrease the count now, so that we do not get this blue color again. So to decrease it, we can just write count minus equals to 1. And this basically means count equals to count minus 1. Okay. Now let's hot restart our application. And let me show you how the application will work. Let it reload first. Okay, so now the application is reloaded. So now let's say I ask my friend that what is his date of birth. Okay, and I know that he was born on 27th August 08. So I already write this and I press equals to. Now his value is stored. Now his date of birth is stored. Okay, so now I will ask him to, let's say, give me a 3-digit number. So he says 656 and I will add that. Now I will say, let's give me a 4-digit number. So he will say 9876 and I will divide it. And then I will add a 21 and I will ask another number from him. And finally, what I will do is I will press equals to. So this equals to is telling me that the dob is stored. So the moment I press equals to, his date of birth appears. So this is basically the trick to make this magic calculator. I hope you guys understood it. If you still have some doubts, you can reach out to me or you can ask the question down below. I would highly recommend you to again see the entire part where I explain this loop, because it will be a lot helpful. I hope that you understood this statement, which is count equals to true, which basically tells you that if this is true, if this condition is true, perform this task, otherwise perform this task. And just like that, we made our magic calculator. So now let's see the last video of this course, which is what's next, where to go from here. So congratulations guys, you have finally completed this Flutter course, this beginner friendly Flutter course, and I hope that you got to understand a lot of different things when you were learning throughout this course. If you have any kind of doubts, you can reach out to me. I won't say no to any of your doubts, and you can just text me your doubts. There's absolutely no problem. Okay, you can also mention your questions down below. Now let's look at what's next, where to go from here. So I would suggest you guys first to learn Dart in depth. So there are a lot of different gurus out there who will give you a long roadmap and ask you to follow that. But honestly, I think that it's trapping yourself into tutorial hell. Okay, so I honestly believe that you should try out different things, and let's start with what you should do first. First, I would suggest you to learn Dart in depth, because I know that a lot of concepts that you studied here, you must have some doubts about them, right? And that can only be covered or understood properly when you read the Dart documentation. Okay, now I will be making a free course on YouTube where I will go in depth of Dart and I will share exactly the same details that are mentioned on the official documentation of Dart, which is the Dart tour. I will give you the exact explanation so that you don't have to read it, but that course might take a while to come. So I would suggest you guys first to just try to read the documentation a bit. Now I will show you my YouTube channel. Right now this channel is empty because I have not currently added any kind of videos here, and I have some subscribers because I used to use this channel for something else earlier. So you can subscribe to my channel. The name of the channel is Learn with Shash, and you will know whenever I add the Dart playlist. Maybe by the time you're looking at this course, there will be an intro to the course which I will upload as soon as I finish making this course. And yeah, you can just go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel for the Dart in-depth Dart course. Next, I would suggest you guys to build clones. So just clone the UI, right? Like the Spotify application, the Amazon application, Google application, WhatsApp, whatever you want. You can just clone the UI and not pay too much attention on how the application actually works, so that you understand the UI part a bit more. You can experiment with it and you can learn different aspects of it by watching other YouTube clone videos. Or I would suggest you to just keep a screenshot of an app in front of you and try to clone it. This is honestly the best practice to build and understand how different widgets work in Flutter. Okay, now next I would suggest you guys to learn to store data. Now in the Magic Calculator app, the DOB that I stored, date of birth that I stored, as soon as I remove my app from the cache, it will go away. Okay, so the data is not stored permanently. To do that, I would suggest you guys to explore the SQL with Flutter. So the plugin is SQF Lite, and I would suggest you guys to learn how to make a notes app. So because that will give you a really good understanding, but make sure that you read Dart in depth first, or maybe watch a YouTube video. But I would suggest you that reading is way better. You can skip through some parts of that course, or you can just wait till I bring out the free course on YouTube. See, because the thing is that when you try to do SQL with Flutter, there are more concepts that will make things even more confusing. If you have read Dart documentation, they will be like a piece of cake for you. Lastly, I would like you guys to invite to the Discord server that I'm creating for all the talented developers out there, the talented video editors, anybody. This course was a ticket for you guys to join that Discord server. I will put the link down below, and let me quickly show you my Discord server. So this is my Discord server. It's by the name Hustle Army, and I have a text channel by the name Flutter, and here you can see that I'm trying to create a community of all the talented people out there so that we can help each other. And this course was your ticket to join this Discord server. I hope to see you join this Discord server. Finally, exciting future ahead. I will be making, as I already told you, I will be making a free Dart course on YouTube, and also courses for the app clones, and not just UI but entire app clones, like how to build an entire Spotify like app, how to build an entire Amazon like app, right? I will be bringing out these courses, not right now, but they will come as soon as possible. And lastly, I will be coding all of these applications live on my Discord server. So that's one advantage to join the server, because whenever I will be making a new course or coding something, I will be live streaming it on the Discord server. Okay guys, so I hope to see you on the Discord server as well. And lastly, I can only wish you good luck and give you an advice to practice a lot. Just keep practicing, keep making simple UIs every day, try to learn Dart, and keep all the things that I told you in mind, and you will be fine. Thank you, and I hope to see you in my Discord channel and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you.